everybody. Happy Martin Luther King Day. To everyone except the FBI and the current administration. You know, those people. Anyway, how's everybody doing? I do have one announcement. I did make a post on the channel community page thing, though I don't know how often people check those because I don't look at other people's posts. But apparently some people do, because there already is a good amount of engagement. But anyway, oh yeah, in 1 year of Beautiful Fairy Princesses, 1 year of the memberships, which is exciting. There's new badges now, 1 year badges, though it does look like, because I see a white outline around the butterfly, it looks like I'm gonna have to go in and change that to a transparent background, because I forgot to do that. I wasn't expecting 1 year to come up so soon. But anyway, thank you to all the members. Thank you for people who pay the $4 a month for a membership. It should be $4 a month. If you get told to pay more than that, it might be because you're on an iPhone. Apparently, if you're on your iPhone and you join the membership thing, it like adds an extra $1. So don't do that. Just, if you have an iPhone, join on desktop or something, or maybe web browser, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's really annoying. Apple, I guess, adds an extra $1. But yeah, thanks for being members, especially the people who are here for an entire year, but also new members as well. We welcome everybody. Anyway, I made this post on the community tab because I'm working on a new video for this channel, the main Medusini channel, a video essay, something non-Headkeen related, and I don't want to give away what the video's about, but it would be helpful if people could, if you guys could, like, give me instances of men, especially, like, cis hetero men using the word bitch, because it will be relevant to the video at some point, one section of the video at least. So I made this post here asking for that. I said it'd be really helpful if over the next few weeks/months, however long the video takes me to make, you could all document every time you come across a cis hetero man using the word bitch, either casually or in malice, and especially if it's against a woman. So just a few things about that, because I did have a few questions. I said preferably, well, I said come across a cis hetero man using it. If you see like a gay or a queer man doing it, that can also count, but like if it's in malice, because I do feel like queer men in general get the casual bitch pass, you know? If it's nice, if it's fun, if it's like, oh, these are my bitches, as in these are my girls, that's fine. If they're being nasty about it and specifically misogynistic, that's different. But for the most part, cis hetero men. I also was asked if I'm asking about like real life instances or stuff in media. I would prefer stuff in media just because it's easily clippable, so I can use just like a clip if I need to, because I don't know exactly. I'm still pretty early in the like the planning process for everything. I have some stuff scripted out, other stuff I just have like an outline. So for that part of the video, I just have an outline, so I don't know exactly how I'm gonna be formatting it in the video, but I think having something that's like clippable would be the easiest. But if there are like IRL stories that you guys have that could get worked into the script too, I'm not sure, but for sure it would be the easiest if it's anything that I can get a clip of, any footage of. So that's all I'm asking for, and I'm gonna be working on this for a minute because there's a thing that I want to go to that's like mid-February that's related to the video. So for however long I'm working on this, if you guys could just keep collecting and collecting, that would be helpful. You can post it in the comments on this post if you want. You can go to the community tab on the channel and make your own post. You can email me. It's up to you. Just so that I could get a good list going. So that's the announcement there. Now, moving on to our main topics, our first kind of like little update stuff before we get to the main topic. So there's a lot happening right now in Minneapolis, obviously, with the ICE presence that it's getting pretty contentious. So I guess Don Lemon, who was a news person from like CNN, who got fired, I want to say like 2 or 3 years ago, probably like 2 years ago, for just generally being kind of a dick. But so I guess he's now doing his own like independent journalism thing. No, yeah, the 1-year badge isn't transparent yet. I'll do it when we get off stream tonight. Oh, wow, thank you for the gifted memberships. That's so nice. I forget that people can even do that. Yeah, thanks. Anyway, so Don Lemon, he's doing some independent journalism now. I don't know where all he's doing it, but I guess he was at this church thing because there's a church where one of the pastors is suspected or found to be an ICE agent. So now there's protests at this church, and Don Lemon has been reporting on it, documenting it. He went down to the church, he got this footage, he interviewed some people. So here's some of the footage from the church.
Here have gathered over here. They're in the middle of the church. So in the beginning of the church service, the pastor was speaking, and so you can see the protesters here have gathered over here. They're in the middle of the church. So in the beginning of the church service, the pastor was speaking, and Nicki stood up and said her piece, and then the protesters surrounded her. But this is a clandestine mission. I think they found out one of, according to them, this is according to Operation Pull-Up, that one of the pastors here is a member of ICE, and so here we go.
You could talk to the lead pastor over there.
Yeah.
Let me show you.
So yeah, he's in the church just kind of documenting stuff. And then he did interview some people while he was there, including one of the church members. I don't know if this is the pastor who was found to be an ICE agent or if it's somebody else.
What do you think of this?
I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship. So,
but there were folks who will say,
I have to take care of my flock.
okay, but listen, we live in there's a constitution and the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
Yeah. We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me though.
We're here to worship Jesus.
Yes.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why we're here. Okay. That's what we're about.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding
we're about
and love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a
no
Christian?
one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I asked that you actually would also leave this building.
You don't want us to chronicle what happened?
Unless you're here to worship.
I'm always worship. I'm a Christian.
We're here to worship.
Yeah.
We're here to worship. Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. What do you think of this?
So now, of course, MAGA, and specifically the Trump administration, is going after Don Lemon, calling what he's doing a hate crime, trying to get him charged with some bullshit, some stuff with like the Insurrection Act. Yeah, it's all really gross. Let's see. Clips of the event were shared on social media by outraged conservatives, with the MAGA Voice account calling for Lemon to be investigated by the Department of Justice and FBI, and influencer Benny Johnson claiming that the journalist's actions accounted to not just an obscene violation of the FACE Act, it's likely a hate crime. So, MAGA, anti-Don Lemon at this current moment, which of course includes, and this is kind of why we're talking about it, Nicki Minaj, who tweeted, and I saw someone say today that this was her first tweet of 2026, which I find kind of surprising that she has held back this long. We're 19 days in and she just had her first tweet of the year. Though I can't say she's showing a whole lot of restraint, because if you don't know, Don Lemon is gay. So she said, Don cocksucking Lemon is disgusting. How dare you? I want that thug in jail. He would never do that to any other religion. Lock him up. And first of all, do what? Go to a protest and document what's happening as a journalist. He didn't start the protest. He didn't do anything that's actually, like, illegal or destructive to the church's property in any way. He was literally just there documenting events as they were happening. So, I mean, this is crazy in a whole lot of ways. Number one, the use of the word thug there, that's disgusting. Just blatantly racist against your own race. Number two, this is kind of the first time we've actually seen Nicki being blatantly homophobic, which is interesting. We've seen her being transphobic over these last few months, but this is the first time where she specifically, that I can remember, that I know of, her specifically saying anything against just the act of being a gay man, which I'm not shocked by it, but it is still upsetting, the amount that it is still escalating. She's still finding new ways to be worse. And then also, this is the first time that I think we've actively seen her supporting ICE, specifically. I mean, in a way, she's always supporting ICE when she's siding with the Trump administration in any way, when she's going and doing speeches, or not speeches, but like whatever the fuck you would call her little thing with Erica Kirk during that Turning Point USA rally. Oh, thank you. Thank you for becoming a member. Welcome. So she has been supporting ICE and anti-immigration platforms just by nature of that, because the Trump administration, that's like one of their main things is hating immigrants. But this is the first time we've seen her specifically supporting ICE, which is, again, pretty ironic given the fact that, like, she's not an American citizen herself. So what the fuck? It's just really upsetting, and Don did respond, and I'm gonna play that.
Nicki Minaj. I normally don't respond to things like this, but, you know, F it. I'm going to do it this time. I think Nicki Minaj has made it very clear how she feels about African Americans in this country. I don't think she's one of them, obviously. And she should, under Trump's rules, she should be deported, because I don't think, reportedly, that she is a legal citizen here. She is undocumented. And so she has shown her disdain for African Americans. So why are you supporting her? Why are you buying her records? She's also supporting, I have lots of gay friends who love Nicki Minaj. Why are you supporting this homophobic, bigoted, ignorant woman? You should not be supporting her. Nicki Minaj, this is clearly out of her depth. She doesn't understand politics. She doesn't understand journalism. And I'm not surprised that she is weighing in on something that is beyond her capacity. What I will say to her is, because she put a doll, I think she put the Chucky doll in there, a better...
What is with her in that Chucky doll? I didn't even see the tweets with the Chucky doll, but I'm like, of course she did, because she always does. I don't get what her fixation with that particular character is.
Her symbol that should have been represented in that picture is a pick-me doll, because Nicki Minaj is a pick-me. She will do anything that is expedient for her politically. And again, she's ignorant. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's always weighing in on things that she doesn't know about. Nicki Minaj should just sit the fuck down. And by the way, isn't she married to an alleged pedophile? And she has the nerve to say something disparaging.
Technically, no. A lot of people do get this mixed up. As far as I'm aware, her husband, he did plead guilty to attempted rape, and also he is a rapist, not just an attempted one. But when he committed that assault, he was also a teenager, and it was against another teenager. So as far as I know, there's no pedophile allegations. There are pedophile allegations, though, against her brother. And those are pretty heinous allegations as well. But her husband, I don't believe, has anything specifically related to age in there. But the girl was a teenager at the time, but so was he.
About something homophobic. I'm pretty sure that maybe that's part of the reason that she is cozying up to the Trump administration for some sort of leniency for her family members. And it's just very transparent. So Nicki Minaj, F off. Stop being a homophobic bigot and, get a life and some brains.
Okay, we will leave it there. All right.
I mean, you hate to agree with Don Lemon. But also, I mean, I don't know. He was never the worst person on CNN. He was also not amazing. But yeah, I mean, he's right here. Doesn't take a lot, though, to be right when your opponent is Nicki Minaj. So, now, we're going to come back to something else on TMZ in a minute. But I did want to pivot for a second just for an update, because last time we did talk about the Golden Globes and we did talk about Bill Maher and what a little bitch he is. And I'm allowed to say that word because I am a woman. So I have the pass. But he is now continue to complain about the fact that he didn't win his Golden Globe. And he said, obviously it's something I said. Well, it's everything I said. I speak freely, and this woke town fucking hates that, and that's okay. I've made my peace with that, so I know how this goes. This is not something I would ever. I have good standing. If I win by some miracle, to go what people always say, I can't believe it, I'm shocked. I really should be shocked. Now, but you think that you didn't win the Golden Globe because you're too woke, or you're not woke enough, and this woke town hates how outspoken you are? You lost to Ricky Gervais. How woke is Ricky Gervais? And the fact that you even got nominated in the first place, dude, is also crazy. It's crazy because even I don't even like his TV show, but even his TV show I think could be somewhat like more tolerable to get through because there's like guests and stuff. I can't imagine wanting to watch a stand-up special with Bill Maher. Like, just watch him monologue for like an hour? Absolutely not. The fact that he even got nominated is just proof that there really weren't any standards to begin with. Anyway, in other TV news, first of all, that the Beauty Show is coming out, I think, this week. It should be premiering. The new Ryan Murphy show with Ashton Kutcher and Evan Peters and some other people. It's just like a knockoff of The Substance. But it'll be premiering this coming week. And the other creepy guy who keeps making TV shows that everyone allows him to, Sam Levinson, they have already shot, I think, the entirety of season 3, or maybe they still have some stuff to shoot, but they've started doing the promo. There was a trailer that came out. And everything about it is just already so exhausting. So for one thing, Sydney Sweeney is going to be an OnlyFans model in this new season, because obviously she is, because that's all Sam Levinson knows how to write, is just characters sexualizing themselves or having a drug addiction. They did this thing though, and I don't know if maybe this will be a part of the joke in the show, but they have Sydney on some sort of, I don't know, some contraption or something for this OnlyFans that she's shooting, and she's in like a little animal outfit, and she has a tail, and it looks like, the tail makes her look like she's taking a giant shit. I thought that this was fake at first. I was like, there's no way that's real. And then I went to go watch the trailer, and it is, in fact, real. And then they've already got Jules is now apparently a sugar baby in season 3. And Rosalia, who is going to be guest starring, is a stripper. And I think Trisha Paytas might also be a stripper. I just would like to know, does Sam Levinson know of other careers? Does he know of other things that people do other than various forms of sex work? And I'm not anti-sex work at all. I think I've made that fairly clear, but this is exhausting. I just can't. And it's not until April, so we're gonna be getting so many teasers and everything for it up until that fucking show comes out, and I just want it to already be over. Anyway, back to TMZ.
It has been happening.
We talked before last week about Spencer Pratt running for mayor of Los Angeles. Now another former reality star, this one being Farrah Abraham of, I think, Teen Mom, right? She was just Teen Mom, or was she also in 16 and Pregnant? One of the two, or both, I don't know. She was in Teen Mom. She's had quite the history for herself. We don't have time to go through the lore of Farrah Abraham. But let's just say she's not the brightest. And now she's running for mayor of Austin, or not. She's running for something. Here's her on TMZ, though, talking about her campaign.
For years now. People leaving California, going to Texas, Tennessee, Florida.
There are like 400
It's an
people
exodus.
left in California.
Yeah,
That's it.
there's very few of us
That's
left
it.
here. And a lot of celebs have made that exodus. Among them, Farrah Abraham moved to Austin, and she is now not just a resident of Austin, she wants to be mayor.
She wants to run Austin.
Yes, she wants to be the mayor, and she has declared her candidacy. There's some questions about why she's declared right now, but joining us now is the candidate herself to talk about her platform. Farrah Abraham, welcome back to TMZ Live. How you doing?
Yes, I'm doing good. Thank you, guys. I'm super excited to be a candidate for mayor of Austin. I'm running super early, so I can't wait to see who's going to run with me and challenge me.
So sometimes people say the less you know, the more you like. You are now giving them many years to make a decision.
We should say,
because the election's not until 2028. Why so early?
Oh, for some reason, the mayor election is 2026. I don't know.
Like, already so stupid. What do you mean, for some reason? If you're running for mayor, first of all, it's not even true. It is not in 2026, as we'll find out. But even if it was, shouldn't you know why? If you're running for mayor, if you care? Why would you say, for some reason? It's this year. Figure it out, girl. Find out why.
It's just what the office told me as well.
Well, we should get some clarity here.
Are you okay? So am I running for district? So district will be, which is federal. I'm running local right now. So local is a little bit different than federal.
I'm in this too. I'm like, what does she even mean by district is federal? Like, council district? That's local too. What are you even talking about? And I was talking about this. I was watching this with my boyfriend, and he thinks that what she might be saying here is that she thinks that the district election is in 2028, which aligns with the national election. And she's saying federal to mean aligned with the national election rather than like the position itself being federal. But I genuinely can't even figure out what it is that she's trying to communicate here. She's so lost herself that she's just confusing me. Like, what do you mean that district is federal? Why would it be called district then?
I did say my hope after running for local is for a local district, which is in 2028. So I do have hopes for running for district, but for right now, I'm going to stay in a nonpartisan category, which is mayor.
Okay, I want to make sure we can get some clarity here. Can our producers in our ear mayoral?
So what?
Boy, man, when you say locally, is it like a council person where you're running a district, where you would be a council person?
What elections are being held this year
in Austin? Is that what you're talking about?
So I'm just going to be running for mayor, which is 2026. You also have Spencer Pratt, who's going to be running for mayor for Los Angeles.
That election.
And that confirms it too, because it's like, clearly she is just following what Spencer Pratt is doing. So I don't know if we're going to have like a whole epidemic in these next few years of celebrities running for office. But this is already out of, like, Spencer, now Farrah, Trisha Paytas saying she wants to run for Congress. Though I think Trisha might have already dropped that. But we have to stop. I blame the Democratic Party for this one, to be honest with you. If they weren't so fucking ineffective, we wouldn't just be getting random fucking celebrities being like, well, I could do it too.
It's 2026. You also have Spencer Pratt, who's going to be running for mayor for Los Angeles.
That election actually is this year.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
yeah. So I don't believe mayors are on a different
yeah, no, it's different in every.
What? You think every mayor of every city, we all have the elections at the exact same time in every city across America? We all have the same election.
So I just know what my city has told me, and they did verify that it's this year.
Okay, we got to
I don't think they did, girl. I need to know who specifically you were talking to.
kind of fundamentally get this right because
Yeah,
there may be a problem here.
I know. If there's a problem, I will be calling, but I've been on the phone all day, all night. Yesterday, I haven't even been a candidate for 24 hours. So I have just been up 24/7 talking to everyone. So no one's notified me that it's in 2028.
I have an idea.
She's like, no one told me that it wasn't. It's been a whole day, so I think I know what I'm talking about. Got you guys.
Alexa,
I'm gonna look it up.
Please call the City Hall.
You should have looked it up before, girl. What the fuck?
In Austin, Texas, and find out when the election for mayor is in Austin. Maybe call the mayor's office.
So, Farrah, the one thing we did find out is that the previous mayor, or the current mayor, was elected in 2024, and they're 4-year terms.
So that would be 2028.
So that seems like it is 2028.
I don't know, guys. I heard they were 2-year terms. So
I heard they were 2-year terms? From who? Just like gossip around town? What are we talking about? What do you mean you heard? You want to be mayor? Shouldn't you know? You don't even know how long you would be in office for if you did get elected.
Oh, I think I'm getting something different than you guys.
We're going to get you some clarity in a second. Alexa, you're on the phone.
Please do.
And Jonah, we're sure that it's
Jonah, are you sure? Because this is...
It's okay.
You're positive, guys. Okay, we're being told, Farrah,
Look,
it's 2028.
Here's the thing. If I'm positive one way and hearing from someone else in a different state, but I'm hearing a different thing in the
she's
state.
Like in a different state. She's like, well, you guys are in California, so what would you know about it? You just, have access to Google. What? She's like, well, you guys are in a different state, so probably just don't know what you're talking about.
For someone else in a different state, but I'm hearing a different thing in the state in which I am, then I think let's do an interview another time, right?
Well, I don't know. This is kind of entertaining.
No, I mean, here's the thing. You've declared.
I think it's interesting,
Although,
I think I'm going to just have everything fleshed out then by 2028.
So I will say this, Sarah.
Everything. I'll have figured out how long the terms are by 2028.
Farrah, you, when I say you declared, you put a post on Instagram saying that.
And I hate, he's not like a good person, but goddamn Harvey looks good. He's in his mid 70s. I think he's 74, 75. Look at him. Anyway.
You intend to run. Have you actually filled out any paperwork with the county registrar to say that you are going to be a candidate?
Yes, so I'm on their public webpage. I have a bank account open. I can receive charities, donations. We can do events.
Yeah, Farrah, we just got this in our ear. The election,
I love it.
the election's in 2028. So, you know, there was a 2-year term with a vacancy in 2022, but now it's aligned with the presidential election. So it is 2028. So I think you may have jumped the gun here.
I love that I jumped the gun. I love if I jumped the gun.
She's like, you guys have even more time to give me more money for my campaign.
But yeah, so I think, I don't know, there's also a lot going on locally. So if someone also misinterpreted that and told me different, that's okay too.
Yeah, I think they got it a little.
Who did you talk to? Let's get some names, girl.
Bit confused.
Well,
but
they say keep Austin weird. And this is definitely weird. And this is definitely weird.
That's her campaign slogan, is keep Austin weird. What her policies for that look like, I have no idea. But she's only 24 hours in, so it's fine.
I definitely think it's weird, but I think it's great. And I think a lot of people are excited locally anyways. So I think, I mean, it doesn't matter to me either way. I'm happy if there's more time, because I would rather lots of time.
Well, guess what? You got it.
You got it.
Thumbs up.
Okay, Farrah.
And I can't wait to see what LA's doing. So we'll see what LA and Austin's doing, what's different.
Okay.
What is that? What LA and Austin are doing and what's different? They're different states. They're different cities. What? Oh my god, it's so bad. And yeah, I'm not going to go into the whole lore of Farrah Abraham, but I did want to point out this, because this was reminiscent of something else she said. Back when Trayvon Martin was murdered, she was asked about him, and she said, I feel like I've met her or something. So that's Farrah Abraham. That's very possibly the next mayor of Austin. So good luck, Austin. Now, she has, since that interview, announced that she is no longer running for mayor, but she is still now going to be running for district. So good luck still to Austin. She said, oh, this is from a separate interview that she did. She said, I reached out to the city and I was just like, hey, I'm very serious about this. I love this city and I want to get involved in and help where I live and breathe. And I know I can help because I'm making it. Others seem to be struggling and I just want to jump in the mix. Do you maybe just want to like volunteer for something then? Maybe get a part of somebody else's campaign? I don't know why you immediately jumped to, I will be the mayor of this city. Maybe we could start a little smaller than that. She said, if I could be a district seat and I could be mayor at the same time, I would probably do it. Maybe you should look up if you can do that. Is that even a thing you can do? I don't know. Maybe you should Google it. And she posted to her Instagram story after that disastrous TMZ interview and she said, looks like I'm running for district 2026. Thank you. Keep it weird. Absurd. And she also talked to Us Weekly. She said, I'm running for Austin City Council District 5 because our city has lost balance. We've gone soft on crime, driven up prices and left working families like mine struggling to keep up. Well, doesn't that kind of contradict the thing that you said previously? Because you said that you said, I know I can help because I'm making it. Others seem to be struggling. Now your family is the one that's struggling? What are you talking about? Enough is enough. I faced Hollywood drama, cancel culture, and online trolls, and I'm still here, ready to fight for Austin families who don't have lobbyists or insider access. You've been criticized before, publicly. You received some public backlash for things before. And that makes you think that you're qualified to help working families? What does that even mean? You faced Hollywood drama? What about that equals I would be a good candidate for office? Oh my God, this country's so bad. I'm here for everyday parents juggling jobs, school runs, and dreams. It's time for a survivor mom who knows how to hustle and make real change. A survivor of what? Cancel culture? Fuck off. Oh my God. But yeah, I guess you can vote for Farrah Abraham if you live in that district at some point this year. Oh, just terrible. Now, some other reality star news, and this is not great. We gotta check in on our girl Jojo, or as she is now going by, Joelle, Siwa. She's, kind of going through it. So apparently these are all on her Snapchat stories, which I don't look at her Snapchat because I'm 29 years old. So I don't need to be looking at people's Snapchat stories. But I guess she updates it very often. And she's been posting a lot of AI images of herself as like a bride. So here's her, she said, call me a wife. Here's her in a wedding dress. That's an AI photo. There's some other AI, like, family photos that she's done. So here's her and Chris and their little, the family that she's planning on starting. And then there's some other photos. This is just really sad. Oh yeah, and that's the bride one again. It's hard to look at. And then there was also this video that got posted to her social media. It's stuff about her and Chris's plans to get engaged and the 7-year deadline they're on, and this one made me real uncomfortable.
Not being...
Oh, I gotta start it over.
People who get engaged on Christmas or Christmas morning. It happens. You see it on Instagram. Yeah. Every year you're going to see somebody who gets engaged. Yeah. I kind of like the idea of it not being at a time where it could be expected.
All right. Keeping me guessing, aren't you? See, this is my thing. Sorry. What if I got him a ring?
You guys.
What if you got him a ring?
Yeah, what if I propose?
I don't think you should propose.
No, I didn't agree.
But what if I did?
I don't.
You'd say no?
I wouldn't. I've spoke to people about this before you, obviously, and I.
Boo! Boo!
Actually said, I think if I was proposed to, that would make me really uncomfortable.
I mean, listen, I wouldn't do it unless you waited like 7 years. Then I'd be like, all right, my ass is getting down on the knee then.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, if you waited too long, I'd be like,
I don't feel like anyone should take 7 years to.
No.
It shouldn't take you 7 years to work out if you want to marry someone. Do you know?
Well, maybe it should when one of the people in the relationship is like, what? What's Jojo now? Like 21, 22? I mean, that's not like. It's not even necessarily super young, because I do think 22, 23-ish is where you do become like an adult. But it's so clear that Jojo in particular has as a bit of like an arrested development. She's not really, she doesn't live like an adult at all. I mean, she's still kind of just under the thumb of her mother. even if she's technically an adult. So it's like, well, that's an instance where I think maybe she should definitely not get engaged within a specific timeline, because I don't know that she's really ready to make adult decisions yet. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not, it's none of my business.
I mean, so,
That's fair.
So yeah, you can go off that, and then that won't ever happen.
Just so you know, on May 27th of 2032, I will be done on 1 year. I will not wait one extra day.
You always get people who get engaged on Christmas.
Yeah, I know. Well, now Chris has given me the ick. I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. It's same. I wanted, the age gap stuff is already kind of weird, and like how quickly they were moving in together. Well, I don't know if they've moved in together, but how quickly how fast the relationship was moving was definitely odd. But it's like, I don't want everyone around Jojo to be such a creep, so I was kind of hoping that he would be somewhat of a good influence on her, but yeah, I don't know. The strict adherence to the gender roles of marriage proposals is already kind of an ick. But then, yeah, I don't know. This is just, it's gross. I feel really bad for her. And she also is like starting to show a lot more skin than before, I guess, on her Snapchat story. This is one I saw. This is from the famous belly button subreddit. Now she's shown her belly button for the first time. And I saw some other ones where she's just showing a lot more cleavage and stuff. And I'm like, okay, I like, yeah, feel out your body. If you want to post thirst traps on the internet, I love it. I support it. You're an adult. But also, I don't know that you're totally mentally an adult at this point. I think you're kind of not the most mature 22-year-old out there. And then, I don't know, also to be posting this on Snapchat, which is mostly gonna get looked at by kids. I mean, I'm not gonna blame her for that, because I don't even think she thinks about stuff like that. I think that she's so emotionally immature that she doesn't think about, like, oh, my audience is mostly kids. Maybe I shouldn't post certain things, especially on an app that is dominated by children. But the whole thing just feels really grody. And I'm sad for her. But good luck to you, Jojo. I mean, she does look nice. She looks good. Embrace that belly button, girl. Anyway, speaking of people with children as their audience, I checked in with Sombr recently. I didn't even really mean to check in, but because I did that entire deep dive into Sombr's social media activity, now I just kind of get stuff on my timelines about it. But so they're still posting to the Sombr fan accounts. This is the Sombr Souls fan account. And this is really nasty here. Oh, wow. Thank you for the $10. Oh my God, everyone's so generous today. Yeah, go. No one needs to stay. If anyone needs to leave at any point, the VODs will be up. They might. Sometimes I get a copyright claim and then I have to dispute it, and sometimes it'll be down for like 48 hours. But after 48 hours, everything should be back up. But last time, it was back up immediately. So, hopefully this one will be the same. But just in case, if you see that the VOD is down, just wait 2 days. It'll probably be back up. But anyway, Sombr's his fan accounts they're still posting. They're still posting as if they're not run by Sombr's teams, and they're still doing weird ass parasocial shit. Where this one, he's at some sort of party or something, and the caption is, "I need to know whose hand Sombr just grabbed." So you'll see him at one point grab someone's hand. And then he walks with them through the crowd or whatever. According to the comments, I don't even know if I can pull that up on mobile here. Or not mobile, but desktop. I don't even know how I would do it. But according to the comments, I guess the woman is just his sister. So they are encouraging his fans to be getting parasocial and weird about him grabbing his sister's hands and leading her through a crowd. So weird. So gross. And some of this, like, I can't fully put onto Sombr because I don't know how much control he has over all of the social media stuff. I do think that if he really cared enough, he could probably put a stop to it. You know, if he just maybe refused to continue filming things for the social media accounts. But okay, maybe he doesn't have total control over the TikToks and the fan accounts that are pretending to be fan accounts. I don't know. He still is doing weird shit like I mean, we haven't seen he's been on hiatus for his live performances. So maybe he'll be better behaved then, but it's like even if we give him the biggest benefit of the doubt and we're like he's not controlling the stuff that gets posted to these accounts. It's like, well then he's still doing weird ass shit in front of his fans on stage. So it's like it's all a part of the same ecosystem. It's all a part of the same weird, almost grift in a sense. Like he is kind of doing a grift. It's not the same. It's not like a political grift or anything, but it's like he's farming. He's farming this inauthentic connection that he has with his fans. That's all just a marketing tactic. And it's very odd. But anyway, that's the Sombr update. Moving on to our main story of the night. Our Chevy Chase PowerPoint. So I wanted to do this because of the CNN documentary that came out recently at the beginning of the year. I think literally on the 1st of the year, on New Year's Day, this came out. And I was so excited about it prior because there kept being like little teasers and stuff for it before the documentary actually released. And I was getting a little frustrated too because I guess there was some sort of pre-screening or something, and it's just a CNN documentary, so why there needed to be pre-screenings for a CNN documentary, I don't know, but stuff kept coming out about things that were being covered in this documentary, and I was like, oh, stop, don't spoil it for me, I can't watch it until the 1st, because I wouldn't say I'm a fan of Chevy Chase at all, but I am very, very interested in Chevy Chase. It hits a few points of interest for me. Number one, I do just kind of, I'm interested in SNL in general, not like a huge SNL person, but like interested enough. I went through a phase in college where I was super into like comedy, and SNL was a huge part of that. I'm also just really interested in like stories of men getting away with things that they should not get away with. And Chevy is a very interesting case in that regard because in some ways he hasn't really gotten away with much because he is a gigantic asshole. That's like one of the main things that people know about Chevy Chase is that he's a huge fucking dick. But he's a huge dick in a way that everyone feels very comfortable talking about, which is very different from the ways that, like, other men in the industry, especially in comedy, get away with stuff, you know? There was the era where I was really into listening to, like, comedy podcasts and stuff about SNL and blah, 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 blah. And during that time, there were a few different comedians that had, like, allegations against them that were kind of like an open secret, like Louis C.K. people were saying stuff about for a long time before the like big exposure happened in like the Me Too era. People would kind of whisper about it. And sometimes, most of the time, no one would mention him by name. They would just be like, there's a comedian who is known to do things in front of women. And that's just something that kind of went around. And that's how a lot of stuff in the comedy world works, where it's like there's open secrets and, you know, some like maybe vague references to people in the industry being pieces of shit. But with Chevy, it was just always so blatant and so on the nose. People would bring him up in podcasts and they would just be like, he sucks. He's a dick. He's a dick to everyone. And everyone had different stories. Like, so many people have Chevy Chase stories of him just being absurdly obnoxious and mean and cruel. And it's not even, you can't even call it an open secret because it wasn't a secret at all. It was just something people would say by name. They'd be like, Chevy Chase sucks. And he almost certainly did receive consequences for that. Like, his career probably wasn't as big as it could have been had he been a little bit more tolerable to be around. But at the same time, he also was given so many different chances. And this documentary is kind of just an extension of that. I was really hoping going in that it was going to be something that actually did kind of explore how Chevy Chase kind of got away with being such an asshole for so long. And it kind of does. Like, it does expose him as an asshole in a way where no one needed him to be exposed because the stories are already so public, but then it also makes so many excuses for him and still tries to uphold this idea that he is this like generational talent that can never be replaced, which maybe he is to some extent, but not to the extent where it's like we should just be fully ignoring all the other stuff. So I was very frustrated with this documentary. But I do just love an opportunity to talk about Chevy Chase, because even though he's a dick, and even though there are so many stories about him being an asshole, a lot of the stories are like kind of funny still, in a way. There's some stuff where it's like, oh, that's actually really gross. There's some harassment stuff, there's some racist stuff, there's some sexist stuff, there's some homophobic stuff, but there's also... He was, for the most part, like an indiscriminate dick. Most of the people that he's been an asshole to, just numbers-wise, have been, like, cis hetero men. But that also has a lot to do with the fact that the industry that he's in is full of cis hetero men, so he had a lot more opportunities. But then, it's also, like, it's not like he's a serial rapist to any degree. There are stories that are bad. There's some sexual harassment stuff. There's some assaults. Not sexual assaults, but just assaults. But, you know, he's not like out... He's not a serial rapist. He's not like a Bill Cosby or anything. So, for the most part, his asshole behavior is somewhat low stakes. And again, also just so absurd that it is kind of fun to hear about. So I've always had an interest in Chevy Chase stories, and I thought that we could just kind of go through them together, especially for people who aren't familiar. Because if you're not familiar with Chevy Chase stories, you're in for a good time. Because no one requested this topic of me. And I had said something at the end of the last stream about how I had made this PowerPoint, and a few people were like, oh, I'd be interested in it. But I knew going in, I was like, this isn't something, if I hadn't said anything at all, I don't think anyone would be like, please, please cover the Chevy Chase documentary. But you're gonna love this. He is a very fascinating person. So, we'll start with who Chevy Chase is. He is a comedian, a comedic actor, mostly. He did do some writing. I think, prior to being on SNL, he contributed, like, at least once to Mad Magazine. And then he also was a writer and a cast member on the National Lampoon Radio Hour, which also featured John Belushi, Gilda Radner, Bill Murray, and some other people, I think, too. But he was a part of kind of the comedy scene before getting on SNL. But then he got cast in the first season of SNL in 1975. He was a part of the original cast. He was the original Weekend Update anchor. So in a lot of ways, he did kind of set the tone for what the Weekend Update host, what that position really would be. Though it's not super hard. He now claims that he, like, invented the concept of, like, satirical news, that, like, The Daily Show owes him something. I'm like, well, it also is just a very kind of basic comedic format, you know? You do, like, a news broadcast, but you make it funny. I think other people probably would have figured it out eventually, but okay, sure. You invented it. He was a very big part of the first season. He had this catchphrase, which is the catchphrase that you'll see in the title of the CNN documentary, which is, "I'm Chevy Chase and you're not." He had a very kind of, like, deadpan, arrogant sense of humor that at the time was kind of being played off as like a bit, as a character. Sometimes instead of saying, "I'm Chevy Chase and you're not," he would open Weekend Update and just say, "Hi, I'm God." Stuff like that. But it's a very similar kind of bit and persona as, like, Leah Michele auditioning for Rachel in Glee. You know what I mean? Have you ever heard the story of Leah auditioning for Rachel, where she walks in the room and the pianist messes something up and she starts being like, no, you're gonna redo that the right way, and I'm gonna walk back, I'm gonna walk out of the room, I'm gonna come in and we're gonna do this correctly. And the people doing the audition were like, "Oh my god, she's, like, already in character, that's such a perfect Rachel." And it's like, well, was she in character, or is that just who Leah Michele is? That's kind of the same vibe with Chevy Chase, where on Weekend Update and on SNL, he's playing this, like, really arrogant asshole who's really full of himself, but it's also not really a bit. He definitely is just an arrogant asshole who's full of himself. But that's, on camera, funny. In real life, not as much. But he was kind of this standout cast member in that first season. This is a really good tweet that I saw about it. It says, "Chevy Chase's huge popularity in the 70s is easily explained. Widely considered a strong 7, he was the handsomest man to ever do comedy up to that point. Also, he was in his mid-30s, making him, at the time, the youngest man ever allowed on TV." And I think that is a big part of it. He was, like, kind of good looking enough to be the star of Saturday Night Live, even though it's an ensemble cast. He's the one who gets most of the, like, early attention, but he also is just an asshole right off the bat. So this is from this Gawker piece called "He's Not Chevy, He's an Asshole, A History of Chevy Chase's Horrific Behavior." They had a whole list of stuff that people have said about Chevy and experiences they've had. So this is one of the first ones. Who he pissed off: John Belushi, Al Franken, Lorraine Newman, Gilda Radner, and basically the whole cast and writing staff of Saturday Night Live. So according to Jeff Weingrad and Doug Hill's Saturday Night, A Backstage History of Saturday Night Live, Chevy was known as a viciously effective put-down artist, the sort who could find the one thing somebody was sensitive about, a pimple on the nose perhaps, and then kid about it mercilessly. In meetings, he'd smirk at writers' suggestions and say, "Gee, I don't think that's very good at all." As the show, and in particular Chevy, took off, his co-workers accused him of not giving them enough credit in interviews. He was also doing too much coke and spending much of his time bragging about his fame and ordering people around the set. So, Chevy is the biggest deal in terms of, like, the entire cast of Saturday Night Live in that first season. He's getting on the cover of, like, New York Magazine. It says, "Hello, I'm Chevy Chase and you're not." He's the hottest new comedy star. He also at this time receives 2 Emmy Awards for individual performance in a variety program and outstanding writing for a variety series, prompting him to leave SNL in 1976 at, like, in the middle of the second season. Now, so this this is from the Gawker thing again. It says, Lorne and Chevy were close friends until Chevy, without warning, decided to leave the show at the end of his contract and do a handful of primetime specials for NBC, severing his relationship with Bernie Brillstein, the manager he shared with Lorne, and signing with William Morris in the process. Now, I think in the CNN documentary, they actually stated that he didn't have a contract at all during the first season, which is how he was able to leave SNL, like, just midway through the second. I don't know if that's true. I think that's what they said in the documentary, and they would probably know because they were talking to Chevy. But I'm not sure. He either his contract ended in the middle of the second season, or he just didn't have a contract at all and just left. But he left without really any notice. And then he at one point tried to, like, blame his then wife for not wanting to move to New York, but then he was also telling people privately that he was leaving because he was going to make more money elsewhere. So, just kind of a dick move in general. And something, too, where, like, Lorne, in particular, keeps giving Chevy so much grace, and you see it in the documentary, too, because Lorne is interviewed. He is so nice to Chevy Chase still, and it's like, but he fucked you over. You're one of the first people that he actually truly fucked over. Because at the time, SNL was very, very new, you know, first and second season. There was a question about whether or not the show had any real longevity. Chevy was the star of the show, so him leaving did kind of, it maybe was going to put the show at jeopardy of being canceled because their main star is now gone. Of course, it did not happen that way. The show went on for many, many years, which Chevy is now wanting to claim credit for, even though he left in the middle of season 2. But it's just really interesting to me the way that Lorne in particular was specifically screwed over by Chevy Chase, and Lorne in particular still goes to bat for him in a very weird way. Now, after he leaves SNL, he goes on to star in a few blockbuster films. There's like Foul Play with Goldie Hawn, there's Caddyshack, and then he does some National Lampoon movies. So National Lampoon's Vacation and National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, which is obviously a big cult classic now for the holiday season. Now, something about National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, it actually originally was supposed to be directed by Chris Columbus, very famous director. And he had to leave the project because of Chevy. So this is an interview he gave with Vanity Fair a while ago. He said, not even that long ago, like a few years ago. He said, I was signed on, and then I met Chevy Chase. Even given my situation at the time, where I desperately needed to make a film, I realized I couldn't work with the guy. Tale as old as time. I was one of the many who couldn't work with him. And I called John being John Hughes, and I said, this is really hard for me, but I can't do this movie with Chevy Chase. An interviewer asks what exactly happened between you two, and he said, my first meeting with him, I sat down with him. It was just the two of us. He had to know I was directing the movie. I talked about how I saw the movie, how I wanted to make the movie. He didn't say anything. I went through about a half hour of talking. He didn't say a word. And then he stops and he says, and this makes no sense to any human being on the planet, but I'm telling you, I probably have never told this story. 42 minutes into the meeting, he says, wait a second, you're the director? And I said, yeah, I'm directing the film. And he said to me, the most surreal, bizarre thing. I still haven't been able to make any sense out of it. He said, oh, I thought you were a drummer. I said, okay, let's start talking about the film again. After about 30 seconds, he said, I gotta go. He went off and met with John Hughes and said we needed to meet again. Then we had a dinner where John Hughes was present, and I was basically non-existent. It was Chevy and Hughes, and they talked about everything except Christmas Vacation. We spent 2 hours together, and I left the dinner, and I thought, there's no way I can make a movie with this guy. First of all, he's not engaged. He's treating me like shit. I don't need this. I'd rather not work again. I'd rather write. He says, I don't know, maybe... Because they said, do you think he was just hazing you, asserting dominance? He says, I don't know, maybe that's it. I guess that sense of humor was funny in the early 70s. It's so surreal. Who says anything like that to anybody? It makes no sense. So to tell that story almost makes no sense, but it actually happened. I thought, this is how we're going to work together. I'm going to be on set and he's not listening. So then John Hughes, I guess kind of as like an apology present to Chris Columbus, then just gave him Home Alone. So the fact that Chevy Chase is such a dick might be the reason that we have Home Alone. So thanks for that, Chevy. Then he continued to host SNL for quite a few years until he was eventually, like, banned from hosting. But he continued to host SNL for a few years, also despite the fact that he left the show midway through season 2. Still just allowed to re-enter the building at any point. And he was just a dick throughout that time. So this is from one of these other, like, books about the history of SNL where whoever wrote it, they like interviewed a whole bunch of people that had worked on the show before. So Terry Sweeney, who is a former SNL cast member, said, Chevy hosted the second show and we were all so excited because to us, Chevy was like a god. This was someone returning who'd been one of the original people and was this legendary figure. And we were just excited to work with him. And when he got there, he was a monster. I mean, he insulted everybody. He said to Robert Downey Jr., "Didn't your father used to be a successful director? Whatever happened to him? Boy, he sure died, you know? He sure went to hell." That truly one of the craziest things I've ever heard anybody say ever. Your dad sure went to hell, huh? Downey turned ashen, and then Chevy turned to me and he said, "Oh, you're the gay guy, right?" And he goes, "I've got an idea for a sketch for you. How about we say you have AIDS and we weigh you every week?" This story will come back up later. It was out of place. So then he ended up having to apologize and actually coming to my office. He was really furious that he had to apologize. He was just beside himself and it was just awful. He acted horribly to me. He acted horribly to everyone. When he got on the elevator at the end of the night, you know, we all go to the party afterwards, and everybody saw him coming. We did. We wouldn't be on the elevator with him. We were all hiding. We were plastered against the wall going, "Oh, he's getting on the elevator. He's almost gone. Oh, he's gone." No one wanted to be near him. I don't know what he was on or what was happening to him mentally, but he was just crazy. And then John Lovett said, when Chevy Chase was hosting, there was a meeting with writers and staff. So Chevy looks at Terry Sweeney and goes, "You're gay, right?" Terry goes, "Yes. What would you like me to do for you?" Chevy goes, "Well, you can start by licking my balls." Then in the 80s, he's in this string of just fucking flops. Just one after the other. He's in movies that are not doing well whatsoever. And so you would really think that his stock as an actor would just plummet. And it did to some degree. But he continued to get job opportunities, even while he also continued to be a huge asshole. So one of these movies, Memoirs of an Invisible Man, was directed by John Carpenter. And here's what John Carpenter had to say about working with Chevy.
So what about you? Who have you worked with? Who? Now, come on, it's only fair.
Chevy Chase was
really.
I wanted to quit the business after working with him.
Really? What was the movie? Forgive me.
Memoirs of an Invisible Man. He was a producer on this thing, and this was he wanted to be a serious actor.
Ooh, that's a mistake.
Now, big time mistake.
So you're directing, and he's like got this attitude.
Oh yeah, it was bad.
Was it one of those things where they had to shut things down?
No, it never got that way. I took it all in. I just internalized it. But that was my worst. Worst.
I'll give everybody their due now.
That's essentially the extent that he talks about it. He does say some other stuff, but he doesn't really give any details because he's classy. Unlike some people, John Carpenter is classy. Then Chevy would go on in 1993 to be the host of his own late night show, the Chevy Chase show. He had some beef with Johnny Carson prior to this, something about... there was already speculation that he might take over Johnny Carson's slot. And then Carson said about Chevy that he couldn't ad-lib a fart after a baked bean dinner. So there's already a little tension there. But Chevy also made it seem like he wasn't interested at all in even having a late night talk show until, of course, he had a late night talk show and then he had to act like he was interested. But it was a complete fucking disaster. You can see clips of it online. I thought about playing some of it for this because you can find like full episodes on YouTube. But it really is just like, it's just uncomfortable to watch. It's awkward. He seems nervous. He also, something that he was talking about in the documentary where he was like, oh, it's like an impossible job to do, which it is a very hard job to do, being a late show host or just being a host of a variety show like that in general, very challenging. And he's like, you have to like care about these other people that come onto the show, like the guests that you're interviewing. You have to know stuff about them and talk to them like you care about it. And I think that kind of was his biggest problem. The monologues weren't great in the first place, but maybe he could have improved in that and gotten a little bit better. I mean, he did do weekend updates, so he knows how to talk directly to a camera. It's not even like he's just an actor. He knows how to read a teleprompter. Or I guess SNL has, they have the, like, cue cards, but whatever. He probably could have improved his skills in that regard, but it's like Chevy was just never going to be a good late night host because he isn't interested in other people. He doesn't like other people. How is he supposed to interview other people and make it seem like he cares about what they have to say? You know, at least Jimmy Fallon can do that fake ass laugh and kind of get through it. What's Chevy gonna do? Bring up someone's dead parent? It wouldn't have worked. So the show got canceled after like a month. It did not last long whatsoever. And it's further evidence that Chevy is just not even really a profitable star. But he still keeps getting opportunities. So he did something else in 1997. I think another maybe National Lampoon movie or something. And he returns to SNL for what ends up being his final hosting gig. Because he couldn't host anymore after this, after the way that he treated the staff. So it's still, the accounts on this are somewhat vague, but we do have some stuff from things that Will Ferrell said in the Live from New York book. So Will said the worst host was Chevy Chase. I don't know if he was on something, but he was just kind of going around the room and systemically riffing. First it was on the guys, playfully making fun, until when he got to one of our female writers, he made some reference like, maybe you can give me a hand job later. In hindsight, I wish we'd all gotten up and walked out of the room. So it does seem, and Will didn't confirm this, and no one has confirmed this officially, I don't think, but the rumor is that at one point, Chevy slapped Sherry Ostery, I don't know how you say her last name, Ostery? This woman right here who did these sketches with Will, that he slapped her on the back of the head, and then reportedly the rumor is that Will went to Lauren and was like, you just cannot invite him back. He cannot come back to this set. So this is where Chevy gets banned from ever hosting SNL again. Yeah, it might have been, 97's Vegas vacation. That's probably it. Even still, though, and this is where I almost do feel kind of bad for Chevy Chase, no one ever wants to be honest with him about the fact that the way that he treats people is the reason that he's not getting as many opportunities as he probably could. So here's one example of that. He was banned from hosting SNL, but Lorne wouldn't tell him why and made it seem like it was because he was too old. So this is from a Washington Post article from a bit ago. It says 6 summers ago, at his daughter Sydney's wedding, Chase turned to Lorne Michaels and told him he was ready. He hadn't been back to host since 1997. It was time. He said no, Chase recounts. Come on, Lorne. No. Why? You're too old. I said, and Helen Mirren's pretty and young? I didn't get it. You're too old? We had so many people older than me hosting. What did he mean? I've never understood what he meant. Because I'd be very good and it would be fun for an audience to see me doing that. It's like at no point does anyone just want to tell him, no, you're a dick. No one wants to work with you. Around the same time, around 1997, he also had a meeting with Kevin Smith, where Kevin said he had some lunch with Chevy for relaunching the Fletch series, which was some movies that Chevy did years ago. He said at the lunch, Chevy went on to claim he invented every funny thing that has ever happened in the history of not just comedy, but also the known world. You ever sat down with somebody who claimed responsibility for stuff he did and didn't do? It's really off-putting. And then Chase later accused Smith of lying. What? Okay, wait, so we have to watch this on YouTube. Shit. Let me get the link. Okay, so this is one of the most ridiculous Chevy Chase stories. This is just completely absurdly out of pocket.
I understand Chevy Chase is one of your heroes, and you had a surprising first encounter with him.
I did. I grew up a huge Chevy Chase fan. I mean, I really wanted to be Chevy Chase, and you know, all those movies like Fletch and Caddyshack.
He even looked a little like him.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. He was my guy. And then the first time I met him, this was at that theater at Upright Citizens Brigade. He was backstage, and I don't ever get starstruck. I mean, you've met everyone in the world, but you know, every now and then I still meet someone, and for me, Chevy Chase just like, I was just blown away. He was just like my comedy hero. So I went up to him, and he was talking to a friend of mine backstage, and I said, Chevy, I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Rob Hubel, and he slapped me across the face. Like really hard. So hard that I saw red. Like my first instinct was like, I'm gonna punch Chevy Chase. And you know, of course I didn't. And then he said something, I can't remember what it was. He made some sort of little joke like, can't you see I'm talking to someone, or something like that. He was trying to be funny, and it was just one of those things that it wasn't funny to me. Maybe it was funny to him, but
not funny.
It wasn't funny. It wasn't funny. And then, so now I just have this thing where every time I see him, I'm disappointed.
He's no longer your idol.
Well, I'll say this. I think that I've tried to change the way I remember it now. Now I try to be positive about it and say, like, you know, it's pretty cool. I got slapped by my hero.
Hey, guys.
And then related to that, there's another clip of Paul Scheer, who witnessed that event, talking about actually a few Chevy stories on the now canceled Pete Holmes show.
I'm so excited to be sitting here with one of the funniest comedian actors and one of my best friends, Paul Scheer. Everybody.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
I'm very
course.
excited to be here. Do we shake? I have a cold
It was
hand,
no
I'm
good.
sorry.
Our hands aren't good for each other. Our hands should see other hands.
Pete, I believe that you and I are like slight variations of the same person.
I agree with that.
I remember when I was really into cool punk rock music, like No Doubt, and
Skip forward a little bit.
like they brought over a picture of I ever went to, and Chevy Chase was like one of the guests on the show, and he was obsessed with getting his kids' No Doubt autographs.
Oh.
And so like they brought over a picture, like a signed No Doubt picture. He's like, you spelled my goddamn kid's name wrong. And he grabbed this intern's arm, pulled it out, like, can I do it to your arm here?
Yeah.
Pulled his arm, like, look, and he took a mark and he's like, that wrote on her arm like that. He's like, that's my kid's name. Have her do it again with that name.
Oh my God.
And it was, I remember standing there and it was like, first time I've met Chevy Chase. Now I know that he's a colossal dick, you know, but back then I was like,
Girl,
Fletch.
I got that Chevy Chase.
What?
Got that Chevy Chase. Colossal dick.
We should get that into the lexicon.
Yeah, if you have a big dick, call it a Chevy Chase.
there's many a mean story of Chevy Chase, and who am I to judge? I saw two. Oh, I actually know three. One, he was mean to my mom.
Okay, it's weird that you didn't open with that
Yeah,
one.
I just remembered that.
Chev Chase was mean to your mom.
Yeah, my mom was in a liquor store in New York. She's like, oh my God, Chevy Chase, I am such a fan of you. And he goes, you lady.
Shut
up.
You lady?
And my mom came home like a broken woman. Like, what did I do to this man? Like, I didn't even say, like, and I was like, you have to be remembering it wrong. She's like, no, that was it. That was the only.
Look, he wrote it on my arm.
So I intern, saw him slap Rob Hubel in the face.
You saw him slap Rob Hubel in the face.
In the face. We were backstage at UCB, the Upright Citizens Brigade, doing ASCAT, and he was the guest monologist. And he was kind of hanging out with us. And again, I put away that he cursed out my mom. I put away that he wrote a thing on an intern's arm in Sharpie. I want my Fletch. Rob's like, hey, Chevy, I'm such a fan. Nice to meet you. And Chevy Chase just, bam, slapped him across the face with no
provocation.
And
Hit my
everyone
hand
froze.
as hard as he hit it.
Like,
that's too hard.
yeah, and was like, I think in his mind was, that's a bit. That's what you guys do at UCB. You do bits. That's my bit. Slap you in the face.
Oh, no.
And so I don't think it was not with malice, but that also goes like, oh, you've been in comedy a long time. Like,
you know that's not a bit.
You're not going to slap people in the face.
Yeah.
So yeah. Told Paul Scheer's mom, fuck you lady, wrote his kid's name on an intern's arm, and also slapped Rob Hubel in the face. So then we get to, what was this? Was this 1990? Oh no, this was 2002. The 2002 roast. This was put on by the Friars Club in New York City. It was aired on Comedy Central. It kind of predates the like Comedy Central Presents roasts, but it's the same basic thing. There's a roast that they have a roast for Chevy Chase. It is just kind of unbearable. I thought about putting clips of it into the PowerPoint, but I was like, there's no good like soundbite or any one moment from it. The bigger problem with the roast is that number one, pretty much none of his actual friends show up. There's a few people from SNL that roast him, but then most of the people on the what do they call it? The roasting board or whatever. Most of the people who are there to do the roast are people that do not know him, that don't even necessarily seem to be fans of him, and also that are essentially like no names. And some of them are more famous now. Like Mark Maron was one of them. He was not a super known comedian at the time. Stephen Colbert was another, not a very known comedian at that time. That was pre-Daily Show or Colbert Report. But it's just, it's not good. It's pretty unrelenting toward Chevy. It's very clear that the people roasting him do not like him as a human being, or don't really have any respect for him, or don't even necessarily just care about him, because none of them know him. And it is just kind of hard to watch. But I want to zero in, there was this article that Entertainment Weekly wrote 2 years later when they interviewed Chevy, where they were talking about this. And I want to read 2 paragraphs from it, because I think they're very telling. So they're talking about the roast. They said, what happened next was so awful that the people who were there, from audience members to Comedy Central staffers, still have difficulty talking about it. Chevy Chase walked on stage and realized that almost none of his friends had shown up. He was led to a red overstuffed chair where he blinked into the television cameras, first stunned, then angry, then devastated, as various basic cable personalities and B-list comics marched to the podium and trashed him. Total strangers telling him that his movies were crap, his talk show was a comedy abortion, he had never been funny. Total strangers giggling about his addiction to drugs. There was no warmth in their comments, no real affection, because after years of silence from Chase and hundreds of thousands of words written about his behavior during the late 70s and early 80s, a consensus had emerged about the man. Everyone agreed without even having to think about it. Chevy Chase was a bastard. He sat there in front of the world as it sank in for the first time. This was how he was remembered. This was his legacy. And when it was all over, he stood up, took a few bilious. How do you use bill? I know kind of what it means, but I don't see that word very often. I think it's bilious and dreadfully unfunny shots at his tormentors, and finally stared dead into the camera and uttered 2 words. That hurt. He fled the theater and went directly to his hotel room. Paul Schaefer, the MC of the roast, left the hall concerned and called Chase. Told him he was coming up to his room. Sat with Chase on the bed for hours, trying to figure out what had happened, why he was so loathed, what went so wrong. And then finally, Schaefer told Chase what he needed to hear. Paul said, "Chev, I could tell you were hurt. I could tell that. And I just want you to know that when you were on Saturday Night Live, you were generous to a fault. To everybody. Everybody loved you." And this is where I do feel kind of bad for Chevy Chase. Because no one in his life wants to actually give him the, harsh truth of, you were a dick to people, and now people don't really fuck with you. If you want to change that, if you want to feel like you're more loved, that you're more honored and respected, you want people to show up for your roast, you should try being nicer. No one wants to tell Chevy Chase to just be nicer. They will just continue to kiss his ass or make up bullshit excuses for why he's not being invited to certain things. It is kind of shitty that he is alienating himself in ways that I don't even think he totally is aware of. But he does still continue to get more opportunities. So in 2009, he gets cast in the show Community, which I've never watched, but I know it is a big thing. People love Community. It was a big cult classic to an extent of a TV show. He starts on Community. I guess that his character is funny. I don't know. I've never watched the show, but I guess his character is popular to some extent. People did appreciate what he was doing on the screen. But off the screen, unsurprisingly, there are more problems. So one of the big problems is he does seem fairly racist. So this is from a New Yorker piece about Donald Glover. It says, Chevy Chase, one of Glover's co-hosts, often tried to disrupt his scenes and make racial cracks between takes. People think you're funnier because you're black. Harmon said, and that's Dan Harmon, the creator of the show, Chevy was the first to realize how immensely gifted Donald was, and the way he expressed his jealousy was to try to throw Donald off. I remember apologizing to Donald after a particularly rough night of Chevy's non-PC verbiage, and Donald said, I don't even worry about it. Glover told me, I just saw Chevy as fighting time. A true artist has to be okay with his reign being over. I can't help him if he's thrashing in the water, but I know there's a human in there somewhere. He's almost too human. Chase said, I am saddened to hear that Donald perceived me in that light. Okay, Chevy. Glover quit the 5th season too bored to do it anymore. So again, he's still being an asshole, but there's still people being like, well, he doesn't mean it. Even the people that he's being an asshole to an extent are like, yeah, I think he's just a sad old man. They start, I guess, kind of writing the show in ways that is specifically meant to keep Chevy's character away from the rest of the characters so that the rest of the cast doesn't actually have to do as many scenes with him. Again, I haven't watched Community, so I don't know exactly how this all worked out, but there was something about his cast. He has leg cast that they put him in, because this wasn't something that actually happened to Chevy. This is just for the character. And they showed clips during the documentary where it's like him almost just being locked in a room where the other characters didn't have to deal with him. And it's like, at that point, once you start having to make plots on the show so that one of your stars doesn't have to be around your other cast members, maybe just stop casting him full stop, you know? Maybe he just shouldn't be on the show if he can't get along with anybody. Then, he reportedly drops the N-word on set, causing the production to halt as he issues an apology, which, you know, the apology thing. Now, how or why he said the N-word has been debated. We do kind of know that he wasn't specifically directing it at anyone, kind of. They started to write the character as more and more racist, and I guess at some point, he complained about it and said, next thing you know, my character's gonna be calling other characters the N-word or something, but he actually, like, said the word, or he just said, next, you know, my character's gonna be he's just gonna be saying, and then he said the N-word. Now, here's the thing about it not being directed at other people. It maybe kind of still was. Because this is from Joel McHale's book. He said, sometimes Chase was just weird, as when he'd bellow out of nowhere, I can still get erections. He wouldn't dance on camera because he didn't want to look gay. But Chase, according to the book, can turn ugly, as he did when he told one of the actresses, I want to kill you and then rape you. Love to get more details on that. McHale thinks he meant it as a joke, but everything he said had a weird sense of menace. Oh, I can't imagine how that in particular would have a weird sense of menace. Him saying, I want to kill you and then rape you. What a mystery. Chase infamously used the N-word referring to two black cast members, Yvette Nicole Brown and Donald Glover, McHale wrote. He was balking at a scene where his character was accused of racism. Well, if my character is this much of a racist, then why don't I just put Donald and Yvette on my knees and call them the N-word? Chase then put an even stranger twist on the event by storming around the set shouting, I'm not racist. He claimed the story was all over the internet, ruining his career, but there wasn't a word of it on the web, so that was odd. I mean, there was some word of it eventually, but I don't know how widespread it was when he was saying that his career was being ruined. But either way, he might have just generally said the N-word and was like, the next thing you know, my character's going to be saying the N-word, or he might have specifically said, why don't I just put Donald and Yvette on my knees and then call them the N-word. I think that one of those is even more absurd and unacceptable than the other. Both of them are like, you just don't need to say it, period. You can just say the N-word without saying the word itself. But especially if you specifically were calling out two of the black actors and being like, what if I directed at them specifically? Yeah, that's worse. But we don't really even have clarity on it. Because especially Donald and Yvette don't seem to want to talk about that. So, I don't know. But he didn't get fired for that even. Or maybe he did, I don't remember. He eventually does leave, but I don't think he got fired for it. I think that they just halted the production for a bit and then he had to, like, apologize. But then they had a rap party at the end of the season. And then at the rap party, Dan Harmon leads everyone in the room in a fuck you Chevy Chase chant, which Chevy was pretty upset about. So now Chevy and Dan Harmon are feuding themselves. And Dan Harmon is also not the greatest person. Which kind of makes this even funner because it's like they're both so messy that they both wound up making this so public. So Chevy sends Dan Harmon a voicemail. Dan then plays the voicemail at this like comedy, I don't know if he was doing stand-up comedy or something. He's somewhere in front of a microphone and an audience playing the voicemail on the microphone. And then other people were obviously recording it. So it's kind of hard to hear, I'll warn you, but this is Dan playing the Chevy Chase voicemail.
He said, he walked out, I mean, when you said Chevy, text message said, your comments are unnecessary and hurtful. I said, you, you've reached your contract, you're an asshole, you left. It's good that you left. And then this happens, what, a day later or that night? That night, okay. After what I'm guessing is 2 bottles of Beaujolais? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Chevy Chase.
I hope you're ready to take your medicine, you fat. You didn't give us a script to begin with, so nobody knew what the was going on during the week. Second of all, you're goddamn bad writing shit, stinko. Script was an abomination, and your writing is getting worse and worse, so suck my cock. I don't get talked to like that by anybody, certainly not in front of my wife and daughter. You goddamn alcoholic fat shit. You're gonna live to be about 57 if you're lucky the way you eat. I got nothing to say to you except you can suck my cock. Is that clear? And I hope you can play that for everybody around you who agrees with you that you should say you in front of all of those people, to me and my family. You think that's the right way to behave? If you were here right now, I'd kick your teeth out. You know
I doubt that.
You're nothing to me. You're a billion of who I've worked with before. You're not funny. You're okay.
Unfortunately, that was a very funny thing for him to say. You're not funny. You're okay. I need subtitles. I know I couldn't find any with subtitles on it. It is pretty hard to hear. He does just kind of like, he calls him fat quite a few times. He chastises him for leading the fuck you Chevy chant. And then he ends it with, you're not funny. You're okay. Which is just, that's some great phrasing. Now, we move on to the CNN documentary, because that kind of sets the base for everything. The CNN documentary, I was just dumbfounded by it. So it starts off, he's being an asshole right away. And I do want to show this clip from the documentary itself, because he's being interviewed by the filmmakers. He knows he's being filmed, and he's also still confident enough in, like, other people's willingness to protect him that he still, for some reason, thinks that he can be a huge dick even while being filmed, and just thinks that it won't end up in the documentary for some reason. So here's him talking to the director at one point.
I'm just trying to figure you out.
No. It's not going to be easy for you.
Why is it not going to be easy?
You're not bright enough. How's that?
Whoa.
Well, you asked. I know you're not going to put that on the air, and I hope not. But my answer is, I'm complex, and I'm deep, and I can be hurt easily, and I react spontaneously to people who want to figure me out, as it were, as somebody who will hold up my guard. I'm not going to let anybody figure me out, per se.
Yeah, you're not that hard to figure out, though, buddy. And he's like that throughout the entire documentary. There's one point, and I couldn't find a clip of this, but it was so out of pocket and so crazy. At one point, he's talking to the director, and he says something, and then she says, like, okay, now can you repeat that, but in a full sentence this time? And that's like a normal direction for people getting interviewed to receive, because the way that they edit everything together, it's like, if you ask someone, like, what's your favorite color, and then they just say orange, most of the time the documentary editors want to edit out the actual question being asked. So if you just say orange, that's kind of a useless take. You have to say, my favorite color is orange. So that's what she's asking him, of like, just give the same response, but then put like the question that I asked you into the response so that the context is clear when we edit this later. She asks him to do that, and then he just looks at her and he went, "You bitch." Okay. And then he like repeats what he was saying, but in the full sentence. And it's not like kidding at all. He's not like, "You bitch." It is so like almost scary in a way. Like he seems so genuinely angry, and maybe he was kidding, but it didn't feel like it in the moment. And it's like, why would you act that way to the person who's making a documentary about you, who's currently filming you for the documentary? It is so absurd. But so the basic structure of the documentary winds up being, it'll kind of like give an example of Chevy being an unrepentant asshole. It'll then kind of like undermine the level of harm that he's like committed, or it will provide some kind of like bullshit excuse for his behavior. Especially, it keeps switching to these like unrelated sob stories that are supposed to make you feel bad for Chevy and are supposed to act as like an explanation for why he is the way that he is. And it also like just tries to convince you that he's funny and talented in a way that, I don't know, overcomes everything else. And it is also just never even that funny. Like when they give examples, they're like, "One time I saw him do this." And I'm like, it's like the most basic dad humor in the world. But they're like, "God, he's a comedic genius." But so here's kind of one of the first things that they bring up about him being an asshole is the Terry Sweeney situation. So if you remember from earlier, Terry Sweeney was an SNL cast member. That's him right there. He was gay. Chevy said that whole thing to him about like, "Why don't we do the bit where we say that you have AIDS and we weigh you every week," which is not funny. And then also the thing about like, "You can lick my balls," or whatever. So they set all that up. They say what he said. They read like the passage from the book that those allegations came from. And then they cut to Lorne Michaels. And Lorne says, and I have it quoted here directly, he says, "I think Chevy was just being Chevy. He would say things that were funny, but he would assume that you were comedy people and he could speak that way." It's like, what are you even talking about? Because most of the people who have given some sort of story about Chevy Chase being a dick, most of them are comedy people, like Terry Sweeney. He was also a cast member on Saturday Night Live. It's not like Terry doesn't know what's funny and what's not funny. He doesn't not know what is or what isn't a joke. So this wasn't an issue of like Chevy was talking to just some random person the way that he would talk to one of his SNL co-stars, and so it got misinterpreted because they don't have the same sense of humor. No, this is SNL co-star to SNL co-star. Well, actually, Chevy at the time was a host, but former SNL cast member to another SNL cast member. And the other SNL cast member could correctly recognize, "Oh, that's not funny. That's actually just mean and offensive." But that's the excuse that a lot of people throughout the documentary give. They're like, "He didn't know that he was hurting anybody's feelings. He just thought that, you know, he saw it all as funny and he thought that everyone got the joke." It's like, no. Not at all. And then Chevy, they bring this up to Chevy and they read him that passage. Chevy says that he thought that Terry Sweeney was very funny, but that he didn't think that Terry was alive anymore. And then he said, "I hope he's not alive anymore because I don't want you guys talking to him," like the interviewers for the documentary. And then the interviewers go, "Oh no, he's still alive." And Chevy at first was like, "Well, how do you know?" And they're like, "Because, I mean, he's still alive. We looked it up. He's alive." And then Chevy said, "Oh, he's alive. Yay. The gay guy." It's so unnecessarily nasty, even in that moment. He has to completely reduce Terry to his sexuality and be like, oh, the gay guy. Yay, the gay guy's still alive. Sarcastically. What is wrong with this man? What is wrong with him? And then the director tells Chevy, they're like, well, I think you really hurt Terry's feelings and that maybe you could like call and apologize to him. It might mean something. And they read him the quote from the book and Chevy says, none of that's true. I would remember that. My memory is that he's lying is my memory. He's not telling the truth. That isn't me. That's not how I am. And if I am that way, my life has changed because I have to live with that now for the rest of my fucking life because you guys got a book out and read it to me. So yet again, and kind of proving Terry's point too of when Terry said the first time that he seemed so upset that he was being made to apologize to him. Now, all these years later, 50 years later or whatever, probably less than that, but decades later, this new person, this CNN documentary director is like, hey, do you maybe want to apologize to Terry? Because what you said to him was really hurtful. And he's again acting pissed at even just being confronted with his own actions. Completely proving Terry right. And Terry did then decline to be interviewed for the documentary. But it's like, well, he didn't need to be interviewed because I can see exactly what he's talking about right there. Then, though, they start just switching. Every time that he does something bad, they will switch to one of many sob stories that they rely on to try to make you feel bad for Chevy. So one of the first ones revolves around his journey to sobriety and how he was addicted to cocaine and painkillers throughout a lot of his early career in the 70s and 80s, and then I think he maybe got sober at the end of the 80s. So that doesn't account for anything that he did in the 90s and beyond. But that's something where I'm like, okay, I am sympathetic to like when you're on drugs a lot, it absolutely can affect your behavior and it absolutely can make people meaner and more cruel and more selfish. So I'm like, okay, he was addicted to drugs and that's not an excuse, but that could maybe provide an explanation, and it provides him an opportunity to, if he gets clean from his addictions, perhaps he could start over. He could make amends and he could become like a better person. No. It actually seems like him getting clean from drugs made him meaner. They say that during the documentary, and they all still provide it as like an excuse where they're like, well, now he just no longer has this crutch, whereas before he was doing these painkillers and this cocaine, and it was giving him this outlet for these feelings that he had, was using these substances. But then when he no longer had that crutch, he had to start lashing out at other people. It's like, well, but he was already lashing out at other people. He was mean while he was on drugs, and then he was mean when he was off of them. I don't think that we can really use the drugs as any sort of explanation at this point. Not for him getting worse, not for him being a dick in the first place. This is just who Chevy is, sober or not. They then move to talking about the talk show, and with what a huge disaster that was, and how much, not even scrutiny that he got for it, just the fact that the show got canceled and people mocked it for like the month that it was on. They then used that as an opportunity to talk about his experience with depression and how depressed he got after the show was canceled. And it's like, okay, I get it. Depression is like a terrible thing for people to experience, but also the way that you're using it in this documentary feels pretty manipulative. Of like, okay, he was depressed. What does that have to do with anything? He's still a dick. Then, of course, they move on to talking about his abusive childhood, which his childhood was pretty abusive, it seems. He had a physically abusive mom and a stepdad. His mother most likely had schizophrenia, so she wasn't mentally well. And they talk about that a little bit. But the thing is, this is the thing that, like, is the most kind of convincing of, like, oh yeah, I do feel kind of bad for him, and I can see where some of his negative traits maybe came from in that regard, that in some ways it seems like he is just sort of perpetuating a cycle of abuse in the way that he treats other people, and it being related to the way that he was treated as a kid. I'm like, okay, I kind of get it. The problem is, though, number one, whenever they're talking about this, Chevy does give a few instances of abuse from his own childhood. He talks about it a little bit, but for the most part, it is other people talking about it on his behalf and using it as an excuse on his behalf and being like, it's all a coping mechanism. You know, it's no surprise with the way that he acts that he experienced abuse as a kid. And it's like, okay, cool. Can I see Chevy deconstructing that in any way? Can I see him trying to, like, actually look at his own behaviors and his own actions and thinking about the origins of any of it? No. Whatever he does, he doesn't seem all that bothered by. And I don't even know if he relates it back to his childhood, because he never gets that far. He never does any sort of deconstruction in front of us. In fact, at one point, when the director asks him about his parents, he immediately tries to, like, make a joke. And this is, by the way, this is 100%. This is the kind of joke that they keep talking about whenever they're like, God, Chevy is just so funny. He's like the funniest person I know. It's humor like this is what they're describing throughout most of the documentary. This is him being asked about his parents.
So at what point, or was there a point where you walked away from your mother and stepfather and never saw them again?
Sorry?
He just pretends to, like, eat a fly on his head. Wow. The height of comedy. And then this person, too. Chevy Chase giving the most troll gangsta response to a very invasive question. A very invasive question? He was already the one talking about his parents and the abuse that he experienced. This is them just asking a follow-up, and this is his documentary. That's not invasive. Fuck off. Ridiculous. Then they move on to talking about Community, and they even make his time on Community another fucking sob story for him, because he was so much older than the rest of the cast, and that made him feel bad. He was insecure about it. At one point, his wife refers to him as being unprotected on the set because everyone else was so much younger. I couldn't even believe it. They make him out to be the victim of the Community environment. At one point, they also it feels like, are blaming Community for him becoming an alcoholic. And part of the issue here is that they could only find one person involved in Community to be interviewed. One of the directors from the show. He talked for a little bit, but nobody else from Community agreed to be interviewed. None of the other cast members, not Dan Harmon. No one wanted to be interviewed. So it's like, it is just essentially Chevy telling the story and then Chevy's family members telling the story. And for whatever reason, Chevy's family members are so defensive of him. And I kind of get it. I get the wife a little bit, because it's like, well, you married him, so you already were tolerant of his behavior toward other people. But, like, his kids, I don't understand it at all. Because I'm like, you've spent your entire life probably following your dad around and, like, apologizing to people on his behalf when he treats them badly, you know? Like, you've probably at least a few times doubled back in a restaurant to give the waitress or the waiter a bigger tip because of how your father was acting. Like, you have to know that your dad is a huge dick, right? But no, any opportunity they get, they will act like he was the person being wronged. It is truly remarkable. And that's one thing too where I was really disappointed in the documentary, because I was like, I am kind of interested in his relationship with his wife and his kids, because they are so unambiguously adoring of him that I was like, well, I would just like to see footage of them interacting so I could kind of understand that a little bit more, that none of his daughters have disowned him. They're all on this documentary defending him. I want to see the relationship. I want to see him being nice to somebody and see what that looks like, to understand why these people have so much loyalty to him. But no, they didn't really show a whole lot of that. They just showed the daughters and the wife defending him constantly. Then they talk about the N-word thing. They don't go into detail about it. They again make Chevy almost seem like the victim of it, whereas like he was complaining about the way that they were writing his character and how they were making his character into such a huge racist. And then he said the N-word just to like express his frustrations. And it's like, well, did he do that? Or did he specifically direct his use of the N-word, even in that context, toward the two black actors on the show, like Joel McHale said that he did? Because we don't have Joel McHale's account, because we don't have anybody else's account, we don't even know. But they do just kind of sweep that one under the rug real quick. And then they move on to talking about his heart failure. They go back to another sob story. Or actually, they also do the sob story about the chant. His daughter was talking about going to the rap party and hearing Dan Harmon lead everybody into the "fuck you, Chevy" chant. She says, my dad was super excited to bring me and my mom to the rap party. We walk in, Dan had had some drinks. He had gotten the whole cast and crew to yell, fuck you, Chevy, fuck you, Chevy. I'm there, he's showing his daughter like, this is the show I did. And we walk into fuck you, Chevy. That's rough and mean. Girl, your dad is rough and mean. All the time. What did you expect? And at one point, they say something about, one of the daughters is like, every time I've like had to interact with a story about my dad, it's always been negative. It's always people saying that he's an asshole. And I'm like, well, what does that tell you? That your dad is an asshole. Maybe you should encourage him to be nicer. I get that, yeah, maybe it kind of sucked to go into that rap party, but it's like, on the way home, do you not just ask your dad, like, hey, what'd you do? What'd you do to those people that made them yell that at you? Because my whole life, people have been mad at you. So why are you treating people like that? Do you not want to hold your dad accountable at all? It's just hard to watch. But yeah, then they immediately move into like, and then he had heart failure and he went into a coma and blah, blah, blah. And they're trying to make me feel bad for him again. And I'm like, okay, I understand how that was hard for him to go through. I understand how it was hard on the family to go through, but also it's something that a lot of people go through. Like heart failure is a very common medical ailment for people in the United States. So it's like, it's not like a specific thing that only Chevy Chase has ever experienced, and it doesn't explain anything in relation to his behavior. Though they do then try to use the fact that he has since started suffering from some memory loss, since going into a coma. They use that as an excuse for like, what can we really even hold him accountable for now? Because he doesn't even remember all the stuff that he did. It's like, yeah, but then when he was confronted with stuff that he did, like with the Terry Sweeney situation, he immediately accused Terry of lying and was like, I just wouldn't do that. So there you go. It's like, well, whether or not he can actually remember any of it, he's still not even willing to entertain the idea that he did anything wrong in the first place. So who cares? It's not like he's a whole new person since coming out of a coma. Then the final sob story is the most ridiculous one of the entire documentary. They actually try to make it seem Like, Chevy was wronged by not being invited to do a sketch on the 50th anniversary show for SNL. This is a huge part of the documentary. It is almost, to an extent, it feels like the thing that the documentary is leading toward. Is like, okay, yeah, he's done a whole bunch of bad stuff, but also he had a sad life in some ways, so he should have been allowed to be on that stage for the 50th anniversary. It is the most insane thing I've ever seen. And this person said, my father-in-law knew Chevy Chase in college and hung out with him in New York through the 60s and 70s, and then here's the text. Chevy Chase was hurt by SNL 50 excluding him. Somebody made a mistake. They should have had me on that stage. And the father-in-law responds, what you get for a lifetime of being a dick. And yeah, it is. And the thing that's frustrating about it too is that even the people defending the decision to not put him in the show on the documentary, none of them just say it's because he's a dick. Like, Martin Short is there, and he's defending the decision of, like, Chevy wasn't on the 50th anniversary show, but that's because there were just a lot of other cast members. There were a lot of people to include. And then he even names, I don't remember who it was, but he names someone else who also wasn't invited onto the stage. And so even then, no one will just say it's 'cause he's an asshole and people don't want to deal with him anymore. They'll still be like, well, it's just because we had so many other people to put onto the stage, you know? Things happen. There's a lot of moving parts. Just say it's 'cause he's a dick. Just say it. And then his daughter makes the argument fully, with her whole chest. And the documentary is not painting her as being ridiculous at all. She's like, he should have done the opening live from New York at Saturday night. And okay, I kind of get that in a sense, because he was, in the first season, I think he was the only person that would ever say it. I think it was mostly him, or it was always him, that at the beginning he would do, and live from New York, it's Saturday night. So yeah, that would have been a kind of like full circle moment for the 50th, that he came back to do that. But it also is not something that he should be owed in any regard. Number one, because he was mean to so many people who worked on that show, that the fact that he was even, I mean, he was there at the 50th, he was in the audience. They allowed him to be in the building, which I think is more than he really deserved at that point. And he was on the stage during the final, like, thank yous and everything, when people were saying goodbye. You can see him back there, and they complain, they're like, they put me so far back there, you could barely even see me. And I'm like, no, it's just because you're tall. You are taller than everybody else. You could see yourself perfectly fucking fine. You just happen to be like 2 rows back. But whatever. Okay, whatever. You didn't get to go onto the stage. You're lucky to have been let into the building. But then also, on top of you just being a general dick, you left the show after 1 season and a half. You fucked over the show by leaving the way that you did. You blindsided people. And now you just expect to be invited back for the 50th? Just fully thinks that he can just live his life consequence-free. And he is kind of right, because he's essentially done it. Even the fact that he wasn't on that he didn't do like a sketch for the 50th anniversary, and the fact that he didn't say live from New York at Saturday night, the fact that he didn't get to do that stuff is now a point of contention. There's now a documentary essentially about how he wasn't allowed on and how mean that was, how rude it was for people to not let him do it. And the thing is too, it's not even like they went through the entire like anniversary special season without acknowledging him during, because there were multiple different specials that they did. There was the 50th anniversary like actual SNL episode, but then they also had this Peacock thing that they did where it was like they had a bunch of people performing and stuff. It was like a separate kind of celebration. And here's what that looked like.
I just have to say, Chevy Chase, thank you so much for everything, buddy. Without you, there would be no Saturday Night Live, buddy. You're the best. I love you so much, buddy. You're the greatest. Thank you for everything, buddy. I love you. Oh, yeah, of course. That's the one and only Chevy Chase. Wouldn't be here without you, buddy. I just have to say.
Wow. They really left him out, huh? Poor Chevy. Didn't even get acknowledged. Jimmy Fallon's up there saying, without you, there would be no Saturday Night Live. Even though there was a Saturday Night Live without him for 49 years. 49 years there was no Chevy on Saturday Night Live, except for the few times where they would let him host, and then couldn't even let him do that anymore because he was assaulting people, allegedly. But yeah, sure. He was so important to Saturday Night. And maybe he was. You know, like, maybe the show would have gotten canceled the first season had Chevy Chase not been on it. But clearly the show can survive without him because it did. For a long time. If Chevy was that important to the history of Saturday Night Live, they wouldn't be doing a 50th anniversary. Because he left in season 2. And yet the show went on. Oh yeah, and I have that there, I guess, too. Now, I also wanted to highlight, because in addition to the documentary, they then did, him and the director did an interview with, I don't even know if it was an interview or if it was some sort of talk or something, but someone from the New York Times was there and they put like a transcript onto this article of things that they were talking about. So, when asked, why did you want to participate in this film, Chevy said, I really liked it. I didn't know if I wanted one or not. I just knew that I'd seen the one with Armstrong, because I guess the director also did a documentary about that guy who... What did he do? Did he lie about taking steroids or something? I don't know. He cheated on riding his bike, I think. I don't know. He said, I thought it was very good. All I could think of when we were doing mine was, what's my problem? What have I cheated on? I thought about my life a little bit, which I tend to do, unlike others. Yeah, you're so introspective, Chevy. Yeah, Lance Armstrong. What did he do? People were mad at him because he was taking like performance enhancing stuff for his bike riding. Yeah, and he did have cancer. He didn't lie about the cancer, right? He did legitimately have cancer, correct? He says, I just thought, I've not really done anything bad that's worth filming. Really? Does he still just not know what an asshole he is? Is he really that in the dark still? And then the director says, when the idea was brought to me, I thought, oh, Chevy Chase, that could be really interesting. I was a fan. What was interesting was that when I would tell people that I was working on it, they wouldn't really have nice things to say about him. That was kind of consistent. And Chevy says, really? She says, yes. I didn't realize. So that was intriguing to me because why do people not like you? He says, maybe they thought I was full of myself, or that I thought too much of myself. I don't think people really like a tall, handsome, funny Jew guy who's not a Jew, but he's Jewish. Chase is not Jewish. And he says, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'd like to hear more from you. So I guess he interrupted her in that sentence. I don't know. Oh, and he cheated on Sheryl Crow. Ooh, that's bad. That's Lance, obviously not Chevy, to be clear, everybody. Lance cheated on Sheryl Crow. I think that's worse than the blood doping. So then the director says, I just couldn't believe how consistent the hate was. Not hate, just, come on, they thought you were an asshole. And then I realized as I was making it that there were 3 levels. Chevy is so loved and protected by his family and friends. And I agree with that, and I would have liked to see more of that. Like, show me more of his interactions with his family and friends so I can understand why they're so protective of him. But that's level 1. Level 2 is Hollywood, where he has a reputation. He's misunderstood. The fucking director of the documentary is calling him misunderstood, even after she has spent all this time talking to people or finding out about these stories where he has just been such a blatant asshole. She's like, he's misunderstood. Girl, what are you saying? The third tier are the fans who don't really care much about the reputation. They love him so much, and I really saw that when we went on the road with him in 2023. But the more research I did, the more I learned about Chevy's background and what he went through as a kid. It's not an excuse, but it puts things into perspective. It's like, well, yeah, but it's presented as an excuse in your documentary. And that part's clear given the way that you're even presenting it right now. About the more research I did, the more I learned about Chevy's background and what he went through as a kid. So you thought that was the kicker of like, oh, this'll be the thing that really makes people understand why he is the way that he is. No, it doesn't. A lot of people are abused as kids and they don't end up like that. Read Jewish thing, that's a Mulaney Kroll joke. Oh, no, Chevy's been doing that for way longer than Mulaney or Kroll. And he does it in a more blatant way, where he actually almost does seem kind of convinced sometimes that he's Jewish, even though he's not. John Mulaney and Nick Kroll, they're actually joking more than Chevy is. And then she says, oh wait, no, I already read that one. So then they were asked, how do you feel about how Marina depicted the situation on Community? And she says, they hated me too? Yes, Chevy. She says, pretty much. Can't I get anybody to like me? I think your family likes you. They do. Why is it so different how your family feels versus the rest of the world? And he said, I partially explained it as the tall and handsome thing. Okay. Again, it's like, why is it so different with how his family feels versus the rest of the world? I would have liked it if the documentary actually explored that. Maybe that should have been the focus instead of Chevy was left out of the 50th anniversary. Aww. And then this person correctly points out, but there are other tall and handsome actors that aren't depicted this way. He said, they aren't as handsome. It's like John Hamm, who played Fletch. I met him at an airport, and I felt it was incumbent upon me to say, did you do Fletch? Because he did. And I spoke with him almost as a fan because that's what he needed. So I'm trying to be nice, basically. And by the end of our talk, he got up and left. I've got to get my plane. No hug, no shaking hands. And I'm thinking, what have I done wrong in my life? That is such a mild story compared to the ones that people tell about you. Like, oh, okay, John Hamm didn't shake your hand or hug you when he walked away to get onto his plane. I don't even know if he actually realizes that he's a dick. I think it is possible that no one's ever really sat him down and informed him. Says, did you have anything to say about Community because you don't address it in the documentary? He says, it wasn't a bad experience. I just didn't think it was that good, the show. But you really loved it at the beginning. Oh, shut up. Your daughter, Kaylee Chase, says in the documentary about how much you loved the writing. My daughter can go to hell. At least that time he does seem to be kidding. So yeah, that's essentially it. That's my Chevy PowerPoint. Because I was floored by the audacity of the documentary to try to make Chevy Chase into the victim of something, of multiple somethings, while acting like he's so misunderstood. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it whatsoever. But that's the way that Chevy's been treated his whole life, so I guess I really should have known. But anyway, going back, we do have a few music updates to wrap us up. So we talked about this before. YouTube announces intention to withdraw data from Billboard charts. So that supposedly happened this week. It said it would be effective January 16th. So that was this last week, and it will affect the charts for January 31st. So I'm really... I haven't heard any updates on this because I thought for a bit that maybe it was just going to be like a negotiation thing and Billboard and YouTube would both back out and allow the YouTube data to be used for Billboard charts, but I guess they haven't because I haven't seen any sort of update on it. So I'm just very curious about what the charts are going to look like next week, because now nothing from YouTube will be counted for Billboard. And I don't know. I don't know how that's going to affect things. And I guess we'll find out soon. Moving on. Oh shit. Is this already gone? Well, okay, so Lady Gaga, she had a documentary come out. Let me see if I can find. Did you see they also are cutting funding for musical artists on late night shows, cutting the amount of musical artists they're going to have? Yeah, I mean, they've been doing that for a minute because Seth Meyers, he hasn't had any musical guests for a minute, I don't think. And then I think, yeah, Kimmel is now also cutting musical acts. It's a very weird moment. And I'm getting really, really mad at the amount of performances that pop stars are doing on late night shows that then get posted to YouTube but then get privated almost immediately after. It's just annoying. I feel like I can't even find footage that existed like a week ago from late night shows in relation to music. It's a frustrating space at the current moment. Now let me find a better tweet, because apparently this one's not available anymore. Oh, they must be copyright claiming or striking everything on Twitter. But so on I want to say MTV Japan, a documentary premiered this last, I want to say like, was it Friday that it premiered? Sometime this last weekend. Documentary premiered on MTV Japan of, it's like a documentary about Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett and their time together from like 2011 to his, it doesn't really cover his death, but it covers his diagnosis with Alzheimer's, and Gaga talking about how much she was like saved by their friendship and their relationship. She says, him helping me rediscover that confidence in myself as a musician, that's what helped save my life. It is a very, very emotional documentary. I did watch it, even though it's technically not available in America yet, but you know, you find ways. Oh, and maybe there's a way down here. You find ways to watch things, but this was really exciting because this documentary was something that we knew was in the works years ago. And this was another thing that I just thought was going to be one of those broken promises where, you know, Gaga or her team indicate that something's coming out somewhat soon and then it just never does. So this documentary at least did come out in Japan. I don't know if there's plans to release it in America. I'm assuming there must be at some point because it is a very well-made documentary. It certainly is better than that fucking CNN Chevy Chase documentary. It's very emotional. And it's pretty remarkable too, the amount of footage that they had from, I don't know if they always knew that they were going to make a documentary about their relationship, but they've got footage from all the way back in like 2011. And there's footage of like Gaga performing and like playing songs for Tony that she like has never even performed live. Like Captivating was one of her earliest songs that we have footage of her performing in like 2006 or something. She hasn't performed it since, but there she was playing it for Tony in like 2011 to 2013. So that was really special. If you can find it somewhere, I do recommend watching it if you're a little monster, but again, technically it's not available in this country. So you'll have to figure that out. And then also, the last time we talked, last week, there was this announcement for the Mayhem Requiem thing with Apple Music. And now I thought that it would be something that was streamed on Apple Music live. It wasn't. I think they did film it, so there maybe is something coming still. But it wasn't streamed live. Everyone who went to the show, who got tickets, they had to give their phones to the people. Like, you couldn't bring your phone in, you couldn't bring any sort of camera in. So we have absolutely no footage from this thing that Gaga did. But the reports from the people who were there said that she did the entire performance. She did a performance of the entire 14-track standard edition album, From Disease to Die With a Smile, in order. She also did Don't Call Tonight live, which that makes sense because that's in the standard track list, but that's very exciting because she has never performed that live. There were new renditions. It was like a stripped 80s, synthy, grunge, and techno-inspired thing. And then no dancers, vocoders were used often, no interludes. She wore a black veil for the show. It sounded pretty cool. A lot of colored lasers, lights, and smoke were used. Can't Stop the High was played as a bow song while the curtain went down. So yeah, seems really cool. Hopefully they'll put that, I guess, I'm assuming that when it does premiere that it's still going to be on Apple Music. So I guess I'm going to have to get Apple Music, so that kind of sucks. But oh well. I'll do what I have to. Our other music updates. Harry Styles has officially announced his new album, Kiss All the Time, Disco Occasionally, which will be out March 6th. I love the album cover. I love the title. I love that he's going into, it seems, a more disco vibe. I think that's very exciting. And, it's about time because, let's face it, the other men who were kind of profiting off of Harry's absence are getting on my nerves. And it seems that's the same for a lot of people. So this person wrote, Sombr, you're done. Benson Boone, you're washed. Role model, retire. The king is fucking back. And here's the thing, like, Benson Boone, I think Benson Boone is cute. Like, as a person. And I am kind of rooting for him, especially because of the way that other people clown on him. So I kind of almost hope that this pushes Benson Boone into maybe just like a new territory, you know? Because it was very Harry Styles inspired in some ways. And maybe this will just encourage him to be more of himself. I'm not saying Benson Boone needs to go away completely, and I also don't think Role Model totally needs to go away completely, but maybe this will at least encourage the men to stick out a little bit more, be a little bit more of their own people. And someone did post this, the rest in peace Role Model, you are a wonderful experience. Because he's a little cutie. I'll miss you, Role Model. Hopefully you can figure it out and survive. But then even Vanity Fair took the opportunity to whack Benson Boone. With gratitude to Benson Boone for keeping the seat warm these past few years, Harry Styles appears to be ready to reclaim his rightful place as crown prince of the pop girlies. And then the NHS also posted this. If you remember this, Harry, and you're excited for this, Harry, it may be time for your cervical screening. And they're right. They're right. So, make that appointment. And then for other announcements, Slater has now officially announced her new album, Worst Girl in America. It's already the best-selling 2026 album by a female artist from St. Louis who has 3 Ys in her name. So slay. That's the album cover. I like it. Apparently some people were complaining about it. I don't know. Everyone just wants to complain about everything. But here's the track list. Dance, Beat Up Schnell's Cannibal, Old Technology, Crank, Gas Station, Yes God, Unknown Lovers, Old Flings, I'm Actually Kinda Famous, Saint Loser, What Is It Like to Be Liked, Prayer, and Brittany Murphy. And she released her new single, Dance. It's so good. Every single that she's released for this album so far. This is what, number 4? We had Beat Up Chanel's, we had Cannibalism, we had Crank, and then yeah, this would be 4, Dance. They're all winners. They're all bangers. They're incredible. This is already, I think, probably going to be one of the best albums of the year. And she directs all of her own music videos, and the video is also incredible. Let me play like a little bit of the audio. So good. I'm so excited for that one. Also, Mitski will be having an album out at the end of February. The cover is really cool. This is the front cover. This is the back cover with all the tracks there. And then she released a new single called Where's My Phone, which is pretty good. I haven't watched the music video yet, but I know there is a music video. But I listened to the song and it's good. Yeah, there's Where's My Phone with the video that I have not yet seen. And then we have the new Hilary Duff releases. So the new Roommates song came out. It's good. It's fine. I mean, it's not my favorite, but it's something that I think a lot of people will probably relate to. It's about being in a relationship and feeling like your relationship is just not what it once was in terms of the sexual chemistry. She is being fairly explicit in it at one point, because we had already heard her say the stuff about giving head in a bar and then touching herself by the front door. And then she also said goddamn, which I guess other people were scandalized by. But then in the full song, she also does say touching myself looking at porn, which that one did kind of get me. I was like, oh, I was not expecting a reference to watching porn in a Hilary Duff song, but I'm here for it. Unfortunately, it's getting very little promo because when I looked at my Spotify New Music Friday playlist, it was at number 79, which I was annoyed by. Shouldn't have to go that far down the playlist to find Hilary Duff, but whatever. But she wrote the song about her husband, which I do think is pretty cool that she is able to just talk about that and talk so openly. Which I'm not super surprised by. That's kind of been her thing. That was her thing back when she was in pop star mode before. She wrote stuff that was personal and about her private life. It says, for me, I was always scared of that because I'm obsessed with my husband. He's such a gift to me, but this song is definitely a snapshot of a time in our relationship when we had a fucking shit ton of kids. That alone throws you for a loop hormonally, and you don't recognize your body anymore. You're like, okay, I'm on kid number 3. Our evenings were feeding everyone, doing homework, running to after-school activities, both of us trying to make our careers work. Then you get into bed at the end of the day and just stare at the wall. I wanted the song to feel really polarizing because in those moments that's how it feels. You feel alone, not seen. So yes, the song is risque, but it's also about taking me back to a time that felt more wild and more free when you would do things you wouldn't necessarily do as often in your late 30s or early 40s. It's about yearning for a time when things felt freer. And of course, she did co-write it with her husband, who said, the second song for my wife's album is out today and I adore it so much. It's about panic and uncertainty, the are we doing this right, and is this forever tailspins that accompany the less oxytocin-filled days of navigating a life that's bigger than just 2 of you. It's about simply wanting to be wanted and seen by your by your person after all the cards are on the table and the unsexy fluorescent light of life is spotlighting your days. Real life shit when you're up at 4 a.m. with the crying baby, and again at 6 to make breakfast, lunches, get the kids to school, go to your job, and come home to do dinner and nighttime routine with enough energy to still make each other feel a little bit of the spark before heated rivalry. And it's about not letting each other become roommates. And I like that. I like that they could write a song about themselves not fucking and have it be actually just genuinely vulnerable and sweet. Instead of that being like something that, you know, some people would hate their wife writing a song about him not ringing her bell as often. But they just put it all out into the open, and I think that's nice. And that's the kind of confessional singer-songwriter shit we want. But then she did just start her tour earlier today. She was in London. And she performed her first show. She is doing the With Love dance on stage. She's got like other people up here. If you don't remember, she back in 2007 when she was promoting Dignity and she would perform the song With Love, there was this like dance that she would do for all the things. It's just kind of cringy and looks silly. It's the kind of dance, it almost was like a TikTok dance before TikTok, where it was something very easy for Hillary to do because she's not a dancer, but then it looked kind of, I mean, it just made her look like she's not a dancer on stage because it was so basic. But it became a big meme, and so now I guess she's bringing these kids up, or not kids, but like, bringing these audience members up to do the dance with her. So I'll play the audio for like a second. But it's cute, and I don't know if she's going to do this at every show, but just in case, if you have tickets to any of the shows, which it's very hard to get because they're small theaters, but you might want to brush up on your With Love dance skills, because you could be called on stage. So that's cute. We'll see if that remains a mainstay of the shows. Now, Hemlock Springs also did have a song that came out this last New Music Friday. There were a lot of people that released. And I have to say that the Hemlock Springs song wasn't my favorite, but I do like Hemlock Springs a lot. So I did just have to promote that song. But a lot of people released. So Pink Pantheress and Zara Larsson released the music video for Stateside. They had just recently gotten onto the Hot 100 for the song, which Pink Pantheress had to tweet, now Billboard gives Zara her flowers, because I guess Zara's name wasn't on the entry that was on the Hot 100 before. Now it is. But that happened before they even released the music video. Now they've released the video. It looks really great. I mean, they gave them a budget that I was not expecting. But it was a really cute video. It's gotten the Halle Berry stamp of approval. She said they're making pop fun again. Go ladies. So I love that. Again, though, we do just have to... It's unclear how much the video actually could even count toward the Billboard charts at this point because of the stuff with YouTube and them not sharing their data anymore. So, like... I hope this is not the last, like, decently budgeted music video we get of the year, because after this, music videos are going to become a bit less profitable if they're not counting toward Billboard streams at all. So yeah, enjoy this one, everybody. We got one last big music video. And then also Madison Beer has released her album Locket, which this is the first Madison Beer album that I've ever listened to. I've known who Madison Beer was for a long time, but I just, as an artist, she didn't really interest me a whole lot. It felt like a lot of stuff she did was somewhat derivative of Ariana Grande. I didn't find it all that noteworthy in the first place, but I did actually like a lot of, pretty much every single that has come out of this album. I liked, what was it called? Oh, I don't remember what it was called, but there was one song that kept coming onto my like Spotify generated playlist where I was like, oh, I kind of fuck with this song. And then there was another one called Yes Baby that I also really liked. And then this one, Bad Enough, which she also released the music video for on this last Friday, I also liked a lot, and I really liked the video. So I was like, okay, well, you know what? Let me listen to the Madison Beer album. Let me hear what Madison Beer has to say. And I have to say, I think that the songs that I already liked are still the songs that are the standout songs to me. I didn't find much else in the album that I thought was super noteworthy, but I didn't dislike the album. I thought it was perfectly enjoyable. I appreciated it while I was listening to it. I don't think I'm going to revisit it much, but I liked it. And she does appear to be getting more traction on this album than she has in albums past. She's another one of those girls that's just sort of perpetually in the Kaya Asylum. So she did perform on Jimmy Fallon. We'll see if her Jimmy Fallon performance stays on YouTube because they just keep getting taken down. But she performed. She was there. We have record of it. And then this wound up, I think, Bittersweet has become her first Billboard Hot 100 entry, so that's cool. She said, only took me 15 years. And then I guess she has a show scheduled for Madison Square Garden. And Kelly Clarkson on her show asked her about there being suspicions that she maybe won't be able to sell out Madison Square Garden, which that's a crazy thing to just confront her with right out the bat, but she had a good response.
If people come, I'll play. I'll honestly play for it if it's empty anyways, so it's fine if people don't come.
Oh
I
my
still
gosh.
played Madison Square Garden even if it's empty.
So we all have those shows. It's like for some reason, whatever, you didn't know a huge game was that night. You didn't know somebody else was, Sting's playing that night. You didn't know something was happening.
Yeah.
And we've all had those things when you walk in and they're like, all right.
I'm like, cool.
It's not full. But you know what? We get out there and we laugh and we play it, and and all those people kind of get the best show ever because you're in it. You're like, well, this is what we're doing. Yeah.
Just the fact that they're already just assuming. They're like, yeah, girl, you might be playing for an arena of mostly nobody, but just go for it anyway. I mean, I hope that in itself maybe encourages people to get tickets just to support her. But it is crazy that already Kelly is being like, maybe people won't show up. Who's to say? That's okay. But then she also did the cover of Paper. She specifically mentioned, her love for Ariana Grande. She said, Ariana's obviously always been one of my idols and someone I've looked up to my entire career, sonically and vocally. I just think she's incredible. It's like, yeah, girl, we knew. We knew. But okay. Maybe the fact that Ariana is mostly doing movies and stuff now, maybe that'll also be good for Madison to not be looking to Ariana for inspiration quite as much. But then she's also already had to kind of defend herself over this idea that she's not in charge of her own work. So she said, all of the ideas that you are seeing are coming from me. I'm part of every aspect. I mean, even when you come see me on tour, hopefully you're seeing lighting programming that I was sitting there for every single song and giving direction. I'm not saying I do everything myself, but my hand is in all of it. I'm sitting there for every single step because I have such a clear vision. And I'm glad that she said that, because already the fact that this album cycle is doing better than her previous, people are already being like, she got a new team and they're doing everything for her. It's like no one just wants to give her credit for it. It's as if she hasn't been in the business for quite a while and maybe has just learned some stuff. Maybe is making stuff that's improved. Or like her work has improved because of the amount of work that she's put into it. I don't know. Seems a little weird that we immediately want to discredit her the second that she starts doing better. But then also new Jessie Ware single came out. A lot of people had new songs. Charlie also had a new song for the Wuthering Heights movie. Someone who does not have a new song and probably will not be having one is Rihanna, who revealed that she would like to have another child this year. And you know what? That's fine. You have another child if you want to have another child. You have been teasing this new album that you're supposedly working on for years, though? So, like, I don't want to tell a woman how to prioritize her life, but just, can we get the album, please? Please? And then A$AP Rocky was asked about it on the New York Times Popcast, and he was, of course, evasive.
That's my dog, man.
So, her turn to put out an album or what?
Yeah, I was gonna say, now that you are you leading the light? No comment.
Don't be dumb.
I try to lead by example.
then you're in charge of the kids for the next couple years.
I'm gonna be honest, yo. You gonna get me in trouble with fans, bro. Like, I know that's true. I had to. That's my dog, man. So,
it's been years. Years. Now, someone who is not letting their pregnancy get in the way, and that's fine. If you want to take a break to have kids, that's fine. I don't want to be like, oh, you have to work while you're pregnant, but it's just so fucking frustrating with Rihanna, because it's like, it's not even just that she's fully retired, because she won't say that she's retired. If she just said, I'm done making music, that'd be one thing. But every like couple months or couple years, she'll come out and be like, I'm working on it. I'm in the studio, we're making stuff. And then she'll be like, okay, I scrapped everything that I was working on, but now I'm working on it for real. It's like, are you? Don't tell me that you're working on something when you're not working on something. But anyway, Carly Rae Jepsen is working on something. And I believe her. She said she was in the studio last night. She was. And we'll hear something from her. Because Carly doesn't stop. And then, not really music related, but just musician related. Sabrina Carpenter has started teasing her Super Bowl commercial for Pringles? Which, I mean, it's kind of iconic in a way. And she's not the first person to do this. It is kind of fun in a sense to have a teaser for an ad, but at the same time, it does feel like a stage of capitalism that I do not wish to be in anymore. I mean, why are we doing all this for Pringles? Though I do like her Pringle bouquet. It's pretty cute. And then Nina Dobrev is doing ads for e.l.f. Cosmetics and Liquid Death? I don't know. But that's happening. And Ariana Grande and Jonathan Bailey are doing a revival of Sunday in the Park. Like a stage revival. So that's cute. That's cute. And then finally, we have our Honorary Pop Girlies. We've got 2 this week. Oh, Megan is in the studio for Act 3. Perfect. Perfect. It does look like it's going to be a pretty good year for albums. But our first Honorary Pop Girly is, and I'll do a drum roll even though I've already got it on the screen, the woman who played the evil queen at Disneyland, who very recently lost her job. Disney has now let her go, and that really sucks, because if any of you had seen it, she just was on like TikTok a lot. People were very into her portrayal of the evil queen. She gave it a lot of character. And now she's been let go. Yeah, there she is. Just an icon. But she's been let go because I guess a lot of people at the park were coming just to see her, and they would like refer to her by her name, even though she never revealed her own name. But people were like reverse image searching like her face and trying to find out who she was and just getting weird with it. And I do kind of understand Disney's decision because they have very strict rules about protecting the magic and making the kids really feel like those are the characters. So I kind of understand why they did what they did. This is a tweet that I agree with. Is like Disney adult / influencers got this gal fired. Their incessant postings, planning trips specifically for her, the even crazier ones reverse searching her face to find out who she is and then using her real name in front of her and the kids at the park. Bottom line, it's on them. It sucks. It sucks. But the rules are the rules. Someone's got some big shoes to fill, though. But also, I hate how instead of protecting her, they just fired her. I don't know how you would protect her, though, is the thing. Is like, but that's the thing where I'm like, stuff like this is just gonna kind of keep happening. Especially with the internet, and especially with the way that people just love to, like, sleuth and find information on people. I don't know how you stop it at this point. I don't know. And then our other honorary pop girly, again, I need to stop opening these links. I should probably go back to the slideshow format for this because I'm opening the links before I reveal. But it's Kai Cenat. He has, I think, stepped back or has fully quit streaming. I didn't watch this whole video. Here, we can watch like a few minutes of it because I would actually like to see what he has to say. But he stepped back from streaming, which I think is a really good thing for him. Kai Cenat, if you didn't know, is a huge Twitch streamer. I watched him. I don't watch much Twitch, but I did watch him when I was watching the AMAs, which I've talked about because the AMAs sucked last year. And so I watched him for a lot of the show just because, well, I realized that the Twitch streams were on, they didn't have the same delay that like the TV broadcast did, so I realized that I could see what was going to happen faster if I just watched Kai streaming from the audience, because he was in the audience streaming. And then I also just like found his stream way more entertaining than the actual show. So that in and of itself kind of endeared me to Kai Cenat. I had never watched any of his streams before, but I was like, oh, he is kind of fun to just walk around and do stuff. But then, you know, with the streams, and Kai is very, very young. He's like early 20s, I want to say. He was younger than I thought he was. But he's very young, and I think that it's kind of dangerous for someone that young to just be streaming constantly. I don't think it's good for anybody's brain, but especially a younger person's brain. So I was like, you know, Kai Cenat seems like a nice young man, but I do worry about him being live all the fucking time. But I guess he's taken a step back from streaming to start working on his clothing brand. You can watch him talk about that for a second.
I feel like sometimes people need to self-reflect and take a step back from the broad perspective of what their life has been. I believe that there is more to this world that is much greater than myself. The energy and passion to want to do more and create is within me. That is why I quit. I quit thinking in my head of the goals I want to achieve and not pursuing them because I'm primarily known for one thing and super scared to.
I'm gonna stop playing it because I feel like I'm gonna get claimed for whatever background music he's got. But he's quit streaming. He's taken a step back from streaming so that he can do clothing stuff. So it shows him doing a bunch of clothing stuff, learning all this sewing and stuff about just the fashion industry. And so that's cool in and of itself, that he's now pursuing like a passion instead of just being a streamer. But then on top of it, the thing that is getting a lot of attention right now is he apparently started this other channel, Kai's Mind, where he'll post some updates here and there every once in a while, every couple days, shorter stuff. So he's still like active on social media and he's still making content, but it's in a more kind of manageable way where he's not just constantly having a camera live recording him, but he's just making things here and there as he goes throughout his life. And so what people have really picked up on is that he's decided to start reading for 15 minutes every day, reading out loud to help himself as like a speaker, to help him talk better. And people were kind of clowning on him for this, and I think that's so stupid. So here's him talking about it.
January 1st of 2026, 12:34 p.m. And I'm about to do 20 minutes of reading to improve the way that I speak. Let's go. 20 minutes. 3, 2, 1. Habit tracking is satisfying. This is the most crucial benefit of them all. Tracking can become its own form of reward. It is satisfying to cross an item off your to-do list, to complete an entry in your workout log, or to mark an X on your calendar. It feels good to watch your results grow. The size of your investment portfolio, the length of your book manuscript, and if it feels good, then you're more likely to endure. Habit tracking also helps keep your eye on the ball. You're focused on the process rather than the result. You're not fixated on getting 6-pack abs. You're just trying to keep the streak alive and become the type of person who doesn't miss workouts. In summary, habit tracking creates a visual cue that can remind you to act. It is inherently motivating because you see the progress you are making and don't want to lose it. And 3, feel satisfied.
And then people were making fun of him in addition to that because sometimes he would come across words in these videos that he didn't know, and then he would look them up, which I guess people think is cringe or something, but that's literally just how you learn words.
Spontaneity. How do I pronounce that? Spontaneity. Oftentimes when I don't know what a word is pronounced, I get to look at how it's pronounced and what it even means.
Spontaneity.
Spontaneity. The condition of being spontaneous. Spontaneity.
Spontaneity.
Spontaneity. Spontaneity. And spontaneity of life. Hardly such questions set up a false what does that mean?
This is great. I think that's great. If you don't know what something means or you don't know how to pronounce it, you should look it up. I wish that I did that more. If I don't know what something means, I'll sometimes look it up, but I definitely should be looking up more often how to pronounce things, because sometimes I just see a word and I'm like, beats me how to pronounce it, but it doesn't matter because I'm only here by myself. But then you sometimes go to use the word in real life and then people do make fun of you. So good for him. And he talked about why he wanted to start reading every day, and I think this is very cool. And some people are being like, oh, this is just like a gimmick or something, that this is just like a publicity stunt for him. And I'm like, even if it is, it's still a good thing to show people, especially because I think that he has a pretty young audience. And he's providing a pretty great example to that audience of how to improve yourself. And to not be afraid to improve yourself, to not feel like it's fucking cringe, to want to get better at things, which a lot of people seem to think that it is.
The reason why I started reading was because I didn't like the way I spoke. To be honest, I wanted to articulate myself better, and I noticed when I got into arguments and I had to get a point across, people were not taking me serious at all at serious moments, and I would have anxiety build up, and then I would start over my words and I not know what happened. So hopefully me reading, and I also have been writing as well, helps improve the way I articulate myself. Also, another reason why I want to read more, because I feel like as I am making my venture into clothing, I feel like when people have to ask me questions about the garments that I end up releasing, I should be able to articulate myself perfectly and explain what is going on and my thought process behind each garment and the inspiration. So yeah, that's really why. I don't know if it's going to work. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Honestly,
I love that. Not only for like the reading thing, but also I think that it's really cool, because one of the big problems with these influencers who get to go to like the American Music Awards or other big like Hollywood events, a lot of times they'll get up onto the stage and then they'll have to read from a teleprompter, and they just fucking suck at it because it's not something that they were ever trained to do, because it is a very particular skill of knowing how to like read a teleprompter and knowing how to speak publicly in general. And these influencers, they just don't have those skills because they didn't go through the same kind of training stuff that most other people in the entertainment industry have done themselves. And I think it's really cool to see someone who is like a huge influencer get to the stage where they are being invited to all of these different like industry events. And instead of him being complacent and being comfortable with his own lack of public speaking skills, he's like, you know what? No, I'm going to do something about it and I'm going to get better at it. I think that's great. It's fantastic. I hope that this puts more pressure onto other influencers to be better at public speaking, to actually have to develop those sorts of skills. Yeah, there's a reason the Streamer Awards have awful jokes and worse timing every year. Exactly. But not my boy Kai. He's gonna be so good at it because he's practicing. He's developing skills. And then Doechii did give him some book recommendations. She said, try some Toni Morrison books, friend. That's expanded my vocabulary, my descriptiveness, and just softened my heart a bit. She pulls out words you've never heard of and uses them in ways you couldn't imagine. So I love that. I love that Doechii is supporting him in this endeavor, and I think everyone should. There's one clip. This one was just so endearing. He gets so excited by what he's reading, and that's another cool thing too, of like, he's not even just reading out loud or whatever and just trying to get the words right. He is also very clearly taking in the information as well, and like actually having thoughts about it and contemplating it. And I think that's cool too, when we're in an era of like anti-intellectualism, that Kai's out here reading new ideas and giving them consideration.
That if I create reasons of why I love her, then it makes my love for her conditional. Shit. On those specific traits or actions, as if I could stop loving her if she doesn't do them. This is of course is not true. That's a good way to think about it. At that moment, I finally realized that McKenna couldn't list reasons why she loved me because her love for me was unconditional. While there are, that's a good point. While there are things she loves about me, there are no reasons why she loves me. If she had reasons, it would mean she only loved me if I were exemplifying those traits. Her love for me is not based on my mood or what I do. Her love for me goes beyond all reasons and does not come from a place of reciprocity. Let me see. Reciprocity.
Reciprocity, yes. Place of reciprocity. What's that mean? Reciprocity. The practice of exchanging things with others for mutual benefit. Okay, reciprocity.
And then I do just want to end it on this final clip of him, because this was like, this is a good motivational speech for anybody.
Be delusional. Be so crazy to where people can't understand what is going on in your head. I don't care what anybody thinks. Listen to me. I'm so obsessed with what I'm doing right now. I'm so obsessed with the clothes and the practicing and the time and the commitment of putting energy and real emotion into the art of clothing. You feel what I'm saying? I told myself on that stage I want to be a fashion designer and have my own clothing brand one day. And a lot of people show me love, but at the same time, a lot of people thought I was crazy. A lot of people think that it's not possible. A lot of people being like, yeah, okay, because I'm a creator. It don't mean nothing. What I'm about to tell you guys is this. When you guys are living your life, be so crazy and delusional about whatever dream you have. Your dreams should sound crazy. I repeat, your dreams should sound crazy. I am so in love with the amount of things I have learned. I have visual and writing representation of everything in this journal that I have learned, and I cannot wait to share it with the world to inspire everybody else. With this book, with this journal, I'm going to put a part of what I'm working on right now, and I hope that everybody that's ordered, I hope that I'm able to do it, where everybody that orders can get one. But if not, I'm gonna have this go digitally online. I don't care. The amount of things that I have learned while making clothes is truly beautiful. I fell in love with the art of sewing. I love sewing. I mean, I'm not the best sewer in the world, but I love sewing. And when people hear that, they think I'm bugging or no. Why not? Why not? Why do you have to question yourself on the dream that you want to pursue? Why do you have to listen to the people that think they know what it is for you? You have 75 years in this world and in this lifetime. If you get lucky to do whatever you want to do. Do you understand me? So don't let anybody dictate you on what you want to do. You have 75 years if you get lucky, one life. You don't have no redos, you don't have nothing. There's nothing else after this. After this lifetime, there's nothing else. So go get it. Go chase the dream, go get it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kai. So yeah, I love it. I love the path that he's on. Especially because it could have gone very differently for him. You know, he became a huge streamer. There were a lot of people that would have just kind of handed him the reins to whatever, just based on the clout that he has. And he's taking his opportunities and he's actually applying himself in a way that I think a lot of other people would not. So I love that. And I am rooting for Kai. And you know, again, Kai did help me get through that AMA night. So I already owed him one. But I'm very happy and I'm proud of him in a way, even though I don't know him at all. I feel very proud of him. Anyway, that's all I have for this week. I will see you guys next week. I'll see you guys next week for the public stream, and then I think the week after that we're going to do a members only stream. So, and next week I'm going to try, because I was trying to do like 2026 New Year predictions, and I know we're already, I kept putting them off because I don't know. I was like, I'm not quite ready to nail my predictions in yet. I felt like I needed to get a month in, I suppose. But so next week, next stream, I'm going to try to have those predictions ready. So you guys can have predictions of your own as well if you want to share in the chat for next week. But other than that, I will see you guys on the 26th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll be here. In the meantime, good night.